Keir Starmer, and then I would tell the Galactic Empire that he was part of the Rebel Alliance and let them blow him away with the Death Star. No Brits was involved, no fingers could be pointed.
You carry on taking the medication, George. Yes, I'd send all the Labour government to space with a one-way ticket and throw in the SNP for being useless. They're all a bunch of... Oh, all right, fair enough.
One person, quite frankly, I think needs to go to space in a one-way journey is Jeremy Kyle. He goes on about his age one more time, how he's 60 this year, he was 59 last year, repetitively over the course of the weeks and months. We have to hear him, I'm 60 this year, I'm 60 this year.
Richard Tice, did you put that cheeky bugger up to that?
I'm hoping he's going to send me the invoice because that was absolutely brilliant.
Which MP would you send to space?
Oh, no, I'll get in terrible trouble if I answer that. But it's fair to say there's quite a long list.
The sad thing is about sending people into space on a one-way ticket is I don't think that we've built a spaceship big enough to take the lunatics off this planet. I mean, from the net zero loonies to the transgender loonies to the racists to the terrorists, there is just so much to the wokerati. We need some big spaceships.
Big spaceships.
Good evening. I never know how you're going to start this conversation, Jeremy.
Katy Perry went to space today, OK? Who would you send... I'd love her to say what I wanted to, but I'd never disrespect her. Who would you send to space who could never come back?
Well, I'd be happy to send Ed Miliband to space, I think.
Oh, that is an outrageous question to I'm not even going to answer that question.
Sam Matterface, do you get the job, yeah? Come on.
No, Sam Matterface, I tell you what... There's no.
I think David Lammy would be the person I'd want to send up in space and never come back again.
Yeah, the problem is how much would the bill be for him to munch through whatever food on the way there?
Hey, it worked.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Good morning and welcome to Morning Glory. It's coming up to 3 minutes past 6 and the sun is actually not bad today. It didn't look so great yesterday after the sunrise, but listen, we are here. We've managed to make it all the way through to Friday, the 5th of September, and it could well be a very decisive Friday because according to the papers this morning, Angela Rayner is not going to last 24 hours. She is going to be out of a job, she's going to be out of luck, she's going to be out of the Prime Minister's favour because it looks as though everything that she said yesterday turns out not to be true. Let's have a look at some of the front pages this morning. The Telegraph goes with Rayner's lawyer rebuts her tax claim. Legal firm says it didn't offer advice on stamp duty, contradicting her statement. You might remember yesterday that basically she came out and said I was given the wrong advice. And it was only later when I went to check that the wrong advice had been given to me that I realised it was the wrong advice, and I realised actually I owed the government and the HMRC £40,000 of stamp duty, which I'd forgotten to pay because I was told that I didn't need to. It's all beginning to unravel slightly. The Sun, Rayner facing the rap. D-Day for Angela over tax as spoof AI video goes viral. We'll play that in a little while. Front page of the Daily Mail. I've got Rayner's lawyers blame her for tax fiasco as Starmer won't rule out sacking her. And we've got the I newspaper, Judgment Day for Rayner, with Starmer prepared to sack the Deputy Prime Minister. So it's all pointing, I'm afraid, to a rather bad scenario for the Deputy Prime Minister and also, of course, the Secretary of State for Levelling Up, Housing and communities, whatever that means. So once again, Keir Starmer finds himself deep in the doo-doo because this is supposedly his closest ally. This is supposed to be the woman that brings the left of the party together. What will it mean for Keir Starmer? Will it mean the wheels further come off the whole Labour bandwagon and they actually don't have any cohesive situation going on? The Financial Times, by the way, has gone so far to the left they don't think it's worth putting on the front page at all. They've got a headline that says, Lloyds warns weakest staff to improve or face the sack. They've got a big picture of Giorgio Armani, who died yesterday, aged 91. And they've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 stories, 8 stories actually, down the right-hand side, single column. Not one of them mentions Angela Rayner. A little bit further down the front page, US and Taiwan held secret talks days before China paraded its military might. And then they've got Botswana's hard choices as diamonds lose lustre. So, funnily enough, the Financial Times is now so left-wing, it's not actually worth reading. So let's get rid of that, and we'll start again. This is, of course, the home of common sense, and we'll be talking a lot of it this morning. A reform conference gets underway. Lee Anderson, big interview in The Sun today. He says, I don't know about his mental health business. I used to work down the mines. People didn't have mental health problems then. Also, Chloe Dobbs is here. Very good morning to you, Chloe.
Morning.
Nice to see you. We've got plenty to talk about, because it's not just about the Rayner crisis, which is hitting Labour. Nadine Dorries has also made the front pages this morning. She's quit the Tories last night and decided to join Reform, saying basically the Tories are dead and buried. And you might have heard in the news that the sort of thinking around the Westminster village is that basically she's had a word with Boris Johnson. He's not coming back, and he's told her, don't worry about it. There's no point, absolutely no point, in trying to revive the Tories. They are dead and buried. We spoke to Liz Truss yesterday, and she didn't seem terribly enthusiastic about Kemi Babe, not all the Tories. In fact, she said what we should do is completely revitalise the entire situation in Britain politically, and the establishment needs to go. It's been completely and utterly infiltrated by Blairites, and that's what is the problem. Also, loads and loads of migrant stories. The Epping hotel migrant's been found guilty of sex assault, and that's why the people are demonstrating. There's a Jamaican drug dealer who's caught dealing drugs just 3 days after winning his asylum claim. And you've also got, apparently, people smugglers sedating children to put them on dinghies. It's nice, isn't it? What is wrong with these people? Also, the NHS are in trouble. Loads of stories about them. And Rachel Reeves accused of wasteful borrowing. All of that, plus loads more stuff as well. It's 0344 499 1000. Send us a voice note, give us a call, send us a text message to 87222, or you can find us on Twitter at talkTV. This is, of course, Morning Glory. Let's get it on. You know, sometimes when you wake up and go, I wish I was a fly on the wall inside Downing Street. I'd love to be waking up this morning in Downing Street, watching Keir Starmer. Can you imagine him sort of walking around, pushing things over, kicking chairs, you know, kicking the cat, going... This is phase 2 of his brand new government. We didn't know phase 1 had even happened, but he's already in phase 2, and it's gone completely to smithereens, I suppose. Chloe, very good morning. I'd love to be inside there and watching it all just as a kind of observer, wouldn't you?
I would love to. I mean, I'm sure it's like a scene out of The Thick of It. Last night I was finding moments from The Thick of It where Nicola Murray's about to get the boot and thinking this is it just matches the situation perfectly.
And all these new people show up and go, oh, I'm now the economic secretary to the Prime Minister. That bloke, Darren Jones, right? Who everybody hates because he's so smug.
Yeah, and he says that the people coming across on boats are mostly women and children. So I don't trust him with anything. No,
I wouldn't. You can't trust any of them. I mean, it looks as though...
none of them have experience.
Angela Rayner...
Who are we going to place Angela Rayner with when she inevitably goes?
Well, not only that, but let's have a look at what she said yesterday and what the now papers are saying today. She has sort of created this web of deceit, a complete and utter, farrago of lies around how she managed to get this mortgage sorted out, how she managed to buy 3 properties, or have 3 properties, where she only apparently owns one of them. And now the tax people, the supposed people who gave her the wrong advice, are saying we didn't give her any advice. It's quite a big point, that.
Yeah, well, that was her...
completely destroyed her defence, haven't they?
Yeah, I mean, she tried to completely scapegoat them.
Yeah.
She's tried to rid herself of any responsibility. She tried to rid herself of any responsibility when there was the whole saga over the sale of her council house, because she said, oh, I'm just a working class woman, I can't afford an accountant, I just didn't know any better. And now she's trying to play the same card again when... it's some time has gone by now. You're an important woman. You're the Deputy Prime Minister of this country. You're also the Housing Minister, so you should know a thing or two about house
sales. And you've also put up all of the stamp duty on everybody else's houses, so why wouldn't you know what you're due to pay on your own?
Exactly.
Would be my question.
Exactly, and it's the hypocrisy when it's her department that is cracking down on evil second homeowners, those horrible people that buy houses at the seaside and push the locals out. She's just become one of them. So before we even heard anything about the stamp duty when we just had the headline that she had bought this flat. It was already a huge scandal for her. And it has just developed and developed and developed. And as you say, her sole defence was the lawyers told me that I didn't have to pay it. And the lawyers come out and said, no, we had nothing to do with the tax situation. Presumably they were just helping her do the paperwork for the sale of the house. They weren't involved in the taxes regarding it. So now she's got no excuse left whatsoever.
No.
And even if the lawyers had advised her that she didn't have to pay this higher level of stamp duty, you would think, as the Deputy Prime Minister, who's already had a scandal about the sale of a house, that you would get a second opinion.
You would know it.
Yeah?
Well, the fact is, she's used this company called Verico and Associates, and they have said basically that she's tried to scapegoat them for the tax fiasco. They said that they gave her all of the right information. I've got the arrow stuck in my back to show it. Says conveyancing expert Joanna Verico. She basically says that we acted on the figures and the information provided by Ms. Rayner. One of the questions that was asked yesterday was, well, did she give them all the information? Because if she's claiming they gave her the wrong advice, it's possibly because she didn't tell them about all of the very complicated things that were going on in her financial affairs, i.e. that she's got this trust fund which is made out to her son, which she's apparently plundering to use to buy another house to put down as a deposit, all of which is very murky, and nobody's quite sure whether in fact it's legal to do that. And similarly, not paying stamp duty rather is an illegal act. It's not lawful. So she's now broken the law as well.
Yeah, I mean that's.
And now she's lying about it.
Exactly. I mean, it's just getting worse and worse.
Yeah.
And when the story first came out that she had managed to save 40k on stamp duty, and the article in the Telegraph was saying everything she's done is completely legal. I guess they didn't want to get sued or anything. I was reading that story and I thought, this does not seem legal. This doesn't seem right. And especially when she was saying that for stamp duty her main residence was the Hove flat, but for council tax her main residence is Ashton-under-Lyne, so that the taxpayer
even though she sold
will pay the £4,000 in council tax
even though
on her
she
London
sold
place.
half of the ownership of it to her own son under these rules of that, she's basically taken money out of the trust which he may or may not be aware of.
Exactly. Well, I mean, there are so many parts to this scandal. This is the other part of this scandal, is everyone's looked at that story and understood, okay, that she sold her share in the house to a trust to help her disabled son. Surely that money should be used to help her disabled son.
Well, that's what people told me yesterday, that the money should not be used.
To get you a new pad.
Again, there is sort of protection around these trusts, so that the family are not allowed to administer the trust. It has to be administered by people outside the family, and you cannot benefit from the trust unless it is to the benefit of the person for whom the trust is named, i.e. her son. So if she's buying him a flat in Hove, that would probably be okay. But if she's buying a flat for herself in Hove, probably not okay.
It's like there are 10 scandals in one with this.
It's really amazing.
Even if she gets the all clear on one part, she's still, when it comes to having used that money to pay the deposit on this, then she's in more trouble. Also don't know where she's going to find 40 grand to pay the extra stamp duty.
She says she's going to pay it and she's going to comply with HMRC,
but she claims that she spent all of her life savings on this new pad, so I don't know what she's got left. Maybe she'll ask her mate Lord
there's
Ali.
not many working class people who can spend their life savings on an £800,000 apartment in Hove. I mean, that's a lot of money. To most people, they'll never have that kind of money.
She's got a mortgage on it, so my understanding is she took around 160k from when she sold the part of her house to the trust, and that went down as the deposit.
That's fine.
And then she's got a mortgage.
But she's still got a mortgage in excess of £600,000. That's more than £500,000. That is not the kind of mortgage that most ordinary people can afford.
No.
Most ordinary people are buying houses that cost between sort of 150 and 300,000, except if you're in London or Edinburgh. That is not the act of a working class woman.
And she's going to have to worry about her income with regards to paying that mortgage now that she's next in line for the boot, and come the next even if she stays...
Well, she'll lose her cabinet minister's salary and she'll go back to being an MP.
If she stays an MP, she won't be an MP after the next general election if she's in the same seat, because Reform are on track to take it.
This is why some people think she went to Hove, because then maybe that's going to be her new constituency.
But are they really going to let her...
But the point is the Sun have said it.
The
Sun have said it well this morning in their leader column, and the Sun is always a great kind of I would say, barometer of how the people of the country feel, right? Because they know exactly what people are saying, and they're basically saying that she's lost all credibility, regardless of what happens, whatever Keir Starmer decides. Rayner is now stripped of all credibility, and she says, and they say the Deputy Prime Minister is now a millstone around the neck of her boss at a time when he should be focused only on delivering for fed-up voters. So she is done.
No, she's done.
I mean, it's now, you might as well just take bets on what time today she's going.
Exactly.
You know, will it be the afternoon? Will it be the morning? Will it be during this show? I would have said normally during my days as a mid-morning presenter, everybody resigned from government between 10 and 1. I'm hoping it might happen before that, so we can, you know, have some fun with it. But let's play some clips, shall we? Because Rachel Reeves was talking about her good friend Angela Rayner yesterday, and you know, Rachel Reeves is not a very good public speaker to begin with, but this is one of her worst performances ever. Check this out.
Yes, I have full confidence in Angela Rayner. She's a good friend and a colleague. She has accepted the right stamp duty wasn't paid. That was an error. That was a mistake. She is working hard now to rectify that, in contact with HMRC to make sure that the correct tax is paid. Anyone that saw Angela's statement yesterday, saw her interview yesterday, I think we'll have a lot of sympathy with some of the challenging family circumstances around this, around Angela's disabled.
No, actually nobody has any sympathy for her, because she has basically tried to rip the system off, and she's basically tried to get away with something that she doesn't want anyone else to get away with. And because she's been so vociferous in the past about sticking to the rules and making sure that there's not one rule for them and another rule for us, she is literally hoist with her own petard, I'm afraid.
I mean, she is the biggest hypocrite in Britain now.
Yeah, Britain's biggest hypocrite. I like it.
Exactly. This would be a scandal even if she hadn't said what she said in the past. But when you add in the fact that there are a million tweets and a million clips of her insisting when any time any Tory broke any rules, they're not fit for office, they've got to resign. I'm sorry, but she cannot stay. Also, that clip of Rachel Reeves was painful to watch. And she was looking at the floor. I mean, she looked like she might cry again and crash the market.
Full confidence in Angela. I mean, it's just pathetic.
She clearly has no confidence in her.
This woman went to China to negotiate with the Chinese, you know, regime.
God help us.
Can you imagine?
I know. I mean, it just baffles me still that this woman is Chancellor. She has no experience. Nobody in the cabinet has any experience.
No, none of them.
I mean, no wonder we've hit a 27-year high on borrowing costs. It now costs more money for us to borrow than it does for Greece.
And we haven't got any olive oil.
I know.
Let's have a look at what the Conservatives have said about this, because they've been making quite a lot of hay while the sun shines.
Because our constituents expect those who make the rules to follow the rules.
Labour's deputy leader, Angela Rayner, is still facing questions about whether she paid the right amount of tax.
She paid the right amount of tax.
Deputy Prime Minister Angela Rayner has admitted she didn't pay enough stamp duty on a home that she bought.
I have alerted and referred myself to the independent advisor on the ministerial code.
The right thing is to refer herself to the independent advisor.
Why does the Prime Minister need an advisor to tell him that this conduct is unethical?
Myself and Keir have said that it's the absolute minimum that if we break the rules, we cannot continue in office.
And you have said that you will resign.
Absolutely,
100%. You still stand by that?
100%, because integrity matters.
I'm absolutely determined to restore honesty and integrity to government.
Honesty and integrity matter. Any politician who seeks to avoid the taxes they owe in this country is not fit to be in charge of taxpayer money.
There is additional tax owing on this.
He clearly isn't going to resign, and so the Prime Minister needs to show some leadership. This is a test of the Prime Minister.
She should either resign or the Prime Minister should sack her.
Oh dear. Oh dear.
There are some clips in there that I hadn't seen before, but after seeing that, I'm like, she is done. She has said over and over and over again, if you break any rules, you are out.
She's a laughing stock.
I mean, she thought if you accidentally went for a cup of coffee with a friend during COVID when it wasn't allowed, that you should resign. So if you've dodged 40k in stamp duty, especially when it involves the disabled son and everything.
And I don't think it ends here, by the way, because there's clearly a whole web of deceit going on in terms of everything that she's done ever since she had the 2 council houses, which she kind of, you know, glossed over. The media kind of gave up on the story, which they shouldn't have done. And I think newspapers newspapers are now kind of, you know, up on their hind legs. As we talked to Kate Ferguson from The Sun on Sunday yesterday, and she said they've been so difficult Downing Street. They've been obfuscating, they've been not answering questions, they've been refusing to kind of, you know, respond to ordinary questions about what did she know, when did she know it, where did she get the money from, all of that. And I think it's a real problem now, not just for the government and Angela Rayner, but, you know, it could be a matter for the police at this point.
Yeah, potentially.
You know?
And you're right to
They can
point
stop
to...
arresting people at Heathrow for tweets, so they can start investigating the Deputy Prime Minister, see what she's been up to.
Potentially. I mean, I'm sure the press will be digging as deep as they can to find whatever they can on her. But yeah, that story about the council house, the sale of her council house, where she claimed that the house that she sold was her main residence, even though she was registering the births of her children in a different house, and we had neighbours saying she's never there.
She doesn't appear to spend much time with her children either, which is another story.
Yeah, it's very complicated. But then she said, I've sought advice to find out if I paid the correct amount of capital gains tax, and I've got the all clear. I haven't done anything wrong, but I can't tell you what the advice was. I can't show you the advice.
Except the people who she got the advice. Except the people who she got the advice from in the paper today saying, we gave her the right advice.
No, I'm talking about the people who gave her advice last year about whether the sale of her council house was correct with regards to capital gains tax. Do you remember she said...
But that was also after the fact, because she'd sold she'd done the kind of the flipping of the council houses some years before that.
Yeah, it was some years before, but then she decided when there was this huge scandal and everyone was asking her, she said, oh, I'm going to talk to a lawyer and find out if I paid the right amount. And she says, oh, I've spoken to someone, I've got advice, and I have paid the right amount, but I can't possibly show you the advice. And everyone was saying, please show us the letter, show us the advice. And she was like, no, I can't show it to you, can't show it to you. And we were all thinking, have you really got nothing to hide if you won't show it to us?
Exactly.
And then eventually the general election came around and everyone was focused on that. But it did rumble on for a long time at the beginning of last year.
But certainly from what it looks as though this firm have said, the conveyancing firm that handled the £800,000 sale in Hove, they're basically saying they did nothing wrong. We did not and never have given tax or trust advice, they said to the Daily Telegraph. It's something we always refer our clients to an accountant or a tax expert for. So they're basically denying everything that she's accusing them of doing, which leaves her looking like a liar, I'm afraid.
Yeah, well, it looks...
There's only one word for it.
It looks like, from what they've said, that she figured out herself how much tax to pay. She did not go to an accountant, else she would have surely said in that Sky News interview with Beth Rigby that she had seen an accountant as well as these lawyers. She didn't mention that, so it seems like she figured this out for herself. And as I said, with the whole row over the sale of her council house, she said, oh, I'm just a working class woman, I don't have an accountant, I can't afford it. I'm sorry, there's no excuse for that now. You're the Deputy Prime Minister of this country and the Housing Minister. You can afford and should absolutely get an accountant to double check what you're doing is right before you cause a huge scandal.
Also, here's the other thing that has caused a massive problem is that, you know, she never revealed until, I think, relatively recently that we found out that she got a bucket load of money, an 11-year legal battle against the NHS Trust in Stockport to get, or was at the very least a 6-figure settlement, possibly a 7-figure settlement, because her son was born prematurely and she was a 16-year-old mother, right? Have a look at this, because this is her in 2020 praising the NHS, despite the fact that she later blamed them and charged them a load of money for compensation.
I spent 6 months in intensive care with him, and through the love and the nurture of the neonatal nurses and all the staff in the NHS, I've got my Charlie with me and he's 12 and he's doing really well. I think our NHS is like the jewel in Britain's crown.
That's why she sued them for hundreds of thousands of pounds. The jewel in the crown. But she apparently needs compensation.
I mean, with her, it's like you can take any subject, any policy area, and she is a huge hypocrite.
Yeah.
There is a contradictory statement on any subject.
But this is big,
and
though.
same goes for Keir Starmer. They're all a load of hypocrites.
This is big, because it's not just being a hypocrite, she's actually concealing the truth.
Yes.
Because what she should have said was, listen, we have some problems with the NHS. You know, as I and my lawyers said to them, because of their inadequacy and because of their negligence, my son now suffers from life-changing disabilities. However, some of the nurses did a really good job looking after him in the terrible state that he was in. But we also managed to negotiate a hundreds of £1,000s settlement. That's what she should have said. Yeah. And people would have gone, OK, fair enough. But to conceal that and then to use that money to buy another house in Hove, completely wrong.
It's disastrous.
This is
so many people think that the NHS is some sort of untouchable religion. It certainly became like that during COVID, and so they're completely unwilling
Well, do you know that they
criticize
pay out hundreds and hundreds of millions of pounds every single year because of their own negligence. And she's one of the recipients of it. And so to sit there and go, oh, they're like angels. Really? Are they? This is what Joanna Verico says to the Telegraph. We acted for Ms Rayner when she purchased the flat in Hove. We did not and never have given tax or trust advice. It's something we always refer our clients to an accountant or tax expert for. This sounds to me like she didn't tell them about the money coming from the trust, right? The stamp duty for the Hove flat was calculated using HMRC's own online calculator based on the figures and the information provided by Ms Rayner, which would suggest she didn't give them all the information. That's what we used, and it told us we had to pay £30,000 based on the information provided to us. We believe that we did everything correctly and in good faith. Everything was exactly as it should be. We are probably being made scapegoats for all this, and I've got the arrows stuck in my back to show it. We are not an inexperienced firm, but we're also not qualified to give advice on trust and tax matters. She obviously didn't tell them about the trust.
No.
That's my take on it.
And as they've said, they're not accountants. They're not there to give tax advice. They can show you, here's the calculator and here's how you use it, right? But you've got to go to a proper accountant.
But if you don't say, by the way, this money is coming from a trust, which means that, you know, I can't be claiming it as my first home or whatever it is, you know, whatever that she didn't tell them was obviously designed to make her pay less money in stamp duty.
Exactly.
Obviously.
She clearly was dodging tax.
Yeah.
She didn't work. 40 grand is a lot of money.
It is.
And, you know,
it's more than the average salary of ordinary people in this country.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
The
and
fact that she pretends to be this working class hero and she's actually got 40,000 quid to give now that she's been found out tells you all you need to know about this woman.
Exactly. So now she has realised why people hate constant tax hikes and the tax on the wealthy. Because, funnily enough, when people buy a new house, it costs enough money as it is, and they don't really want to cough up an extra 40 grand on top of the 30
Rachel
grand
Reeves has basically killed the housing market. People aren't buying houses because it's too expensive.
Exactly.
And don't want to give the money. Anyway, listen, it's Gaff-Prone Friday, so in the spirit of all things to do with how useless this government is, let's have the first gaff from the Prime Minister, Keir Starmer.
Is she the victim of a briefing wall? Well, look, Angela's had people briefing against her and talking her down over and over again. It's a big mistake, by the way. Angela's an incredible Prime Minister, an incredible person.
Deputy Prime Minister, you just said Prime Minister.
Deputy Prime Minister, but...
What an idiot. He calls her Prime Minister and he also says that she hasn't done anything wrong and that people have been talking her down and it's a disgrace.
I'm sorry, but if
he's got all that wrong.
If I hear one more person say, "Oh, you're just bashing her because you hate working class women," I'm going to throw my toys out the pram.
Totally.
I'm sorry, it has got nothing to do with the fact that she is a working class woman. And as I said, she's already had that excuse once. She used that with the council house. After that, she should know better. There's no excuse for it. I'm not angry at her because I hate working class women and I don't like to see people doing well and I hate social mobility.
Just get gone.
Yeah.
Go. Just walk away because you're embarrassing now. Embarrassing to the Labour Party, embarrassing to the government, embarrassing to the country, all because you've got your grubby hands on some money that you don't know what to do with, but now you've decided you don't want to pay any tax. You know, just get lost, get out of public life. In fact, not only resign as Deputy Prime Minister, resign as an MP. That's what she should do.
She won't be able to pay her mortgage then.
Well, then they should have asked her about that when they were giving her the £700,000 loan.
That's the other thing. It's very interesting how she managed to get this mortgage.
Yeah.
Where's all the money coming from? Because it is apparently
She's literally gone from
quite hard if you're
grandmother at 36.
Yeah.
She's suddenly become a multi-millionaire.
I know, it is very interesting. You have to wonder, where is all the money coming from? I mean, we know that there's been
That's why I want her investigated.
We know that there's been this trust, but as you say, if she's still got 600 grand mortgage...
We don't know what's in the trust either.
The monthly payments are probably pretty high. And... yeah, it just seems very, very odd. And when you're an MP, apparently it's quite hard to get a mortgage because your job is only guaranteed for a few years.
Well, they seem to have managed to get one through taxpayers-funded, you know, second homes and all the rest of it. I mean, these are the same people, by the way, who charge you and me for their heating in both the houses that they've got. They charge you and me for their train travel everywhere they go. They charge you and me for, you know, cups and saucers and paper clips and, you know, everything they do, they charge to us. I give them absolutely no quarter. You know, I think they're all a disgrace, quite frankly. How about this from Simon in the southwest? He says, nobody cares less about parliamentary process or Rayner. So-called Deputy Prime Minister should be gone by now. This is the example she's setting. She complained about the language of the graffiti yesterday, but has been happy to use the word scum in the past. Yeah, somebody graffitied her house in Hove. and just said tax evader.
Tax evader Raina.
Tax evader Raina. Let's get a voice note from Richard.
Morning, Mark. Richard in Corby. I was listening to a Labour advisor or an ex-Labour advisor on somewhere where I won't name, but he was saying yesterday that Rayner may resign just before Farage's speech this afternoon to take some lustre off Farage's speech. If that's how desperate they've become, they're in even more sorry state of affairs than what we imagined. Thank you. Good weekend.
Thank you, Richard. Yeah, she's an embarrassment, as I say, to the country, to Labour. If she wants to really try and disrupt Nigel Farage by resigning, I mean, what do you think he's going to make of that? He'll love it. He will absolutely love it.
Well, I think we'll all be having a party about her celebrating her resignation at Reform Conference later if she goes today.
Exactly. Yeah, we're all going to be up there.
Give us a treat and resign today.
Yeah, resign. Yeah, resign whatever time you like. I mean, I prefer if you resign before 10 o'clock so I can cover it here on my show. If you can't make it before 10, then I'll be getting up there about 5 in the afternoon.
I'm not sure socialists wake up before 10 in the morning.
That's true. And where does she wake up in the morning? Because obviously she needs to live near London. So is she in her Hove apartment, or is she in her Grayson favourite Admiralty Gate apartment?
Yeah.
Or has she gone back to the place that she doesn't spend any time in, even though it's her main residence in Greater Manchester?
Yeah, I mean,
Or is she just in a hotel somewhere?
Possibly.
I bet she's in a hotel.
Yeah,
saying,
she probably...
I can't go anywhere because the press are hounding me.
Yeah, so she's probably in the Ritz right now. She's probably having her 10-course breakfast right now.
In bed?
Yes,
yeah.
Probably.
With that bloke with a toothbrush in his pocket. Remember him? No, it's just a story. She came out of a house once with a guy and he had a toothbrush in his top pocket.
That's so strange.
This is such a bad look.
Socialists do weird things,
Socialist
don't they?
weirdies, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Listen, we're way behind time, so I'm going to be in trouble. 6:31, it's me and it's Chloe, and we'll be back after this.
Who's been touching up 14-year-old girls. He told two other girls that he would like them to have his babies. These are children we're talking about here. He'd been in the country for, what, 2 days? I think it was something like that. But I think this is the thing, right? He probably doesn't understand what he's done wrong. Because where he comes from, that's de rigueur.
Well, yes, I'm with you to some degree, but at the same time, apparently, where he comes from, he was a teacher.
across the UK. On DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Some of these Labour MPs who've been defending Angela Rayner over the last few days have all gone a bit quiet suddenly today. Lots of suggestions that Keir Starmer ruled out 5 times yesterday when he was asked if he wouldn't sack her, even though he claims that he supports her and he's very proud to serve next to her on the front benches. Yesterday there was a great AI rap song that was doing the rounds. We thought we might as well give you a flavour of that as well. It's on the front page of The Sun. It's brilliant. You know, Rayner time, you know, Russ. That's fantastic, isn't it?
That's
I mean, how could she
brilliant.
ever appear as a normal sort of what you might call serious minister now of any kind to talk about, you know, I'm building 1.5 million homes for everybody in Britain?
Well, I mean,
when you're just going to play that.
I know. I mean, the thing is, even if she did manage to stay,
one rule for me,
any time,
none for thee.
Yeah, anytime she
Love
does
it.
any sort of press conference about how many homes she's buying, when it comes to the press
Right.
the press questions,
Yeah.
they're all just going to say the same thing.
Yeah.
Oh, well,
It's brilliant. Absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, exactly. So there's no way that she can. There's no way she can stay because the press will just go for her every time she opens her mouth and ask her the same question. They won't let the story go away if she were to stay.
We won't let it go away. Meanwhile,
Exactly.
back in the world of reality, once she's shuffled off this mortal coil and decided no longer to have a career as a politician, the migrant who sparked the Epping Bell Hotel protest is facing jail after being convicted yesterday of sexually assaulting a girl of 14. This guy's name is Hadush Kibatu, and he's expected to be given a full custodial sentence. Sun have got it on page 1 and pages 10 and 11. And this is what it's all about. You know, people ask us about, you know, why are all these, you know, demonstrations going on outside hotels? Why are all these women dressing in pink and walking up and down? And this is the reason. He's a dingy migrant. He groped a 14-year-old girl's thigh just 9 days after arriving in Britain, sparking all of the protests outside the Bell Hotel. The end, right? This is why people are not happy.
Exactly. I mean, all those mums and dads that have been protesting day in, day out in Epping, they probably feel vindicated now because they have had so much backlash. They've had all of the stand-up to racism lot going down, saying, oh, you're just making this up. You're just saying that there is a link between illegal migration and sex crimes because you're just racist bigots. And we had, I was mentioning to you in the break, we had all of these lefty ladies. We had Paloma Faith, Diane Abbott, Zara Sultana and others sign an open letter the other day telling the far right to stop linking immigration to sex crimes. Apparently there is no link whatsoever. We're all just making it up and using dodgy statistics. But I think this has clearly shown there is a link. There is a problem with having unvetted men. We don't know who on earth they are in these hotels. And also one big concern in Epping has been that the schools have just gone back this week. And so the girls are going to have to be, young girls are going to be walking to school. The parents are all very concerned.
And they don't want to be walking past this
hotel. They thought that the Bell Hotel was going to be closed by the 12th of September. But then, of course, that absolute idiot, Lord Justice Bean, decided that the human rights of asylum seekers matter more than the concerns of the people of Epping, or any planning laws for that matter. So it remains open.
This guy's from Ethiopia, right? Apparently, what he did was wearing his. He previously had. He played with the 14-year-old girl's hair while she sat with friends, complimented her as very pretty, and insisted, "You'll be a good wife, and you should come back to Africa with me." I mean, it's not much of a chat-up line, to be honest. You know, Ethiopia. One of Angela Rayner's favourite places, of course. The child said in an interview, he kept asking to come back with us or try to get us to go back to the Bell Hotel with him. He pointed at me first and he said, I want one baby from you and one from each of your friends. He told us, as well as that in his country, it is normal to marry 14-year-olds. I mean, sorry. This is what happens when you import people from places like Ethiopia and, you know, Mogadishu and bloody Somalia, you know, where they all marry teenagers, kids underage.
This is what I always say to people who say, oh, that statistic about the link between immigration and sex crimes isn't completely reliable.
It's not fair.
Even if you're right, even if that stat isn't perfect, like, for example, Afghans being 22 times more likely to commit sexual assault.
Well, it's a Home Office statistic, isn't it?
I think so. But these lefties in this open letter are saying, oh, these are dodgy stats. But even if they're right, I think just use your common sense. If you bring a load of people here from a country where it's normal to marry young teenagers, where consent isn't really a thing, where rape is the norm, what do you expect? Of course there's going to be a higher propensity for these people to commit these crimes. But then these lefties who think everyone that comes here on a boat is perfect say, oh, but those people that are coming here on the boat, they're coming here because they're fleeing those horrible norms. No.
No, they're not. They're just coming here because they fancy what they think is a better life, and maybe some of them are coming here because they fancy having sex with some English 14-year-olds.
Well, we have.
It's not out of the question,
we
is it?
have seen there's a huge social media advertising campaign for people smugglers to advertise their services, and one thing that they have done before is they have posted up on their TikTok videos of British girls outside clubs, you know, drunk, not wearing very many clothes, and saying, look at all the drunk promiscuous girls that you can come take advantage of if you come to Britain.
Unbelievable.
It's part of their sales pitch. And look, someone coming from Afghanistan, they may dislike the Taliban, but that doesn't mean that their views about women are going to be exactly like ours. They're still going to have some backwards views to some extent, most likely about consent, age of, you know, appropriate age to marry or have a relationship with someone.
It happens to be a fact.
Exactly.
That's what they do.
I mean, you go to refugee camps where people are looking to come towards Britain or somewhere in Europe, and the women there are being raped in these camps. One of the reasons why you go to these camps and the women all have like 10 kids each running around, and you ask them why, and they say, oh, well, people keep coming into my tent and raping me. But those women end up staying there in those horrible camps, and the men leave and come to Britain.
And there's a story today as well saying that the people smugglers are sometimes now drugging the children to put them on dinghies to make it look like there's more children coming, but they're actually putting them in serious danger, one by drugging them, but also two by making it impossible for them to rescue themselves if there's a problem, you know. But let's have a look at this clip. This is police arresting this Epping migrant who was found guilty yesterday. Once again, his name Hadush Kibatu from Ethiopia. Have a look.
Okay, hands like this for me. Okay. Thank you. And just come and step on there for me, sir. Okay, she is right. Give me 1 second, I'll call you back. She is right. The phone number. The lady in blue. Yes, the lady. Yeah. He thinks it's she's drinking, and I pass. Please call me. You are black man. You are coming, man. You are coming my home. It's a child. Yeah. Just coming, man. So the allegation is that you've touched a child on the inside of the groin. I am a teacher. Come over here. I need to search you. Don't cry. It's going to be okay. Come step onto the pavement. So I've got a little bit more room. You can leave your shoes on. It's okay. Step onto the pavement here. No, stand up. Stand up. There we go.
I mean, we don't need this, do we?
No,
frankly.
I'm not surprised he's crying. He's a weak man, clearly, if he's led to such.
He's trying to have sex with a child.
I know.
He should be locked up for a very long time.
But he should be deported.
And he should be deported.
But he'll sit in the taxpayer, you know, funded prison where I believe the average cost is 51 grand a year. To house somebody, and I'm sure because of his human rights we'll never be able to deport him.
No, because he'll suffer when he goes back to Ethiopia, no doubt. We need to take another break because we're running quite late. But coming up, we're going to be talking about Lee Anderson, the Reform Conference as well, and Nadine Dorries, who's basically deserted the Tories and said they're dead and buried, and now she's going to go reform. She's going to be up there as well. 6:43.
across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back to Morning Glory, 6:46. It is Friday, the 5th of September. How about this from Dallas, who says, "Morning, Mike and Chloe. If Raina is forced to resign and loses her grace and favour luxury flat, she don't need another London base. Watch this space. She doesn't need another mortgage. We're going to get back onto the old surveyors and go, I need another mortgage."
Well, let's hope the boyfriend of hers has some cash to splash to buy her a new pad, because I don't know where she's going to get the money out of otherwise. Cause it sounds like she's out of it, especially after she spends 40 grand.
Maybe she can rob some more from the trust. Maybe some more in there, I don't know. But it's an interesting point, because one of the things that people have said is that she can't be sacked by Keir Starmer as Deputy Leader of the Labour Party. It doesn't work like that.
She's elected by
She's elected by the sort of the proles, as it were. So she has to resign, which she might not do, which means, and I don't know what the rules are, but I suspect if she's not Deputy Prime Minister and she's only Deputy Leader, she doesn't keep the flat in Admiralty Gate.
I don't know the exact rules on that.
No, I think she'd have to leave, because John Prescott had it, if you remember, because he had his affair there, do you remember, with his secretary? And there was a lot of jiggery-pokery going on. For want of a better word. But it was in the same place, right? But he had it because he was Deputy Prime Minister, not Deputy Leader. I don't think you get a grace and favour flat if you're just Deputy Leader and not in the Cabinet. So we'll see. Anyway, let's talk about...
for her if she loses that place.
Let's talk about Nadine Dorries. She's all over the front page of the Mail today, because she's written a big piece for them. Nadine, good friend of the show. We're hoping to try and get her on, but I don't know if we'll be able to, because she's going up to the Reform Conference, which kicks off later on today. I'll be up there later on. Jeremy Kyle is going to be there as well. Chloe's going. I mean, all the good people are going, basically, because it's going to be quite a fun weekend in Birmingham. Nadine Dorries sensationally defected to Reform UK and declared the Tory party is dead.
This is huge.
She's not wrong, is she?
No, she's not wrong. And if you look at the detail of the article, what she's saying is, I've not changed my views. I've always been a Tory, but the Tory parties just didn't act like Tories, and they didn't fulfil their promises. They said all the right things and they spoke as though they were Tories, but then they didn't do anything. And so, hence, it makes sense for her to move over to Reform now, and she's been very patient. She's been with the Tory party for about,
I've asked her before.
30 years.
I've had her in, when her last book came out a few months ago, she was in here doing an interview, and I asked her about Reform, and she was sort of, she wasn't quite there yet, she wasn't quite ready to move over, but you could see that she was kind of sympathising. But the comment piece in the Mail is interesting. They've said a new politics is beginning, everything we knew and accepted as normal is dissolving and crumbling. It's time for all the talents on the right to come together to sweep away this lamentable excuse for a government. And I think they may have a point there.
Yeah, potentially. I do think the Reform Party have to be careful not to take in too many Tory defectors, because on the one hand, as I said, it's not like someone's being a flip-flop if they've moved from the Tory party to the Reform Party, because their views may have stayed broadly the same, but they're just upset the Tory party didn't do anything. I mean, I used to vote for the Tory party, but then they didn't fulfil their promises. But I do see a lot of Reform supporters getting upset every time they take in a new Tory
they
MP,
don't like it.
because they think, oh, you're just going to become the Tory party, stop taking those traitors in who, put migration through the roof. So they need to be
It's a delicate
careful.
balance, isn't it?
Yeah, they've been particularly careful when it comes to cabinet ministers who oversaw rising migration, so hence they're very funny about Suella Braverman and Robert Jenrick possibly coming anywhere near them.
And a lot of them don't like Jake Berry being part of it as well now.
No, they don't, because they say he's a net zero sympathiser.
Yeah. And also, he wasn't very nice to them when he was in the Tory party, but there we are. A couple of tweets and texts coming in. Jules in London says, "Morning, Mike and Chloe. This coordinated defence of Rayner from the left working-class woman is irrelevant and doesn't wash with the public. Rayner is finished." Paul from Manchester, Angela Blamer, what a good do. People in glass houses, Mike. She was quick out of the starting blocks to attack Tory sleaze. Absolutely right. Let's get a voice note from Graham.
Morning, Mike. Morning, Chloe. Just seen that interview of Rachel from Accounts talking about her good friend, in inverted commas, Angela Rayner. She's stuttering so much. If she was a computer, you would have to shut her down and reboot her. She sounds terrible. Anyway, have a good show. TTFN.
It's true. Absolutely true. You would have to reboot her. Here's one for you, right? This is a good clip. Jess Phillips talking about rape gangs. This was yesterday in Parliament.
Horrendous reports about the rapes and assaults that are taking place by South Yorkshire Police. I welcome the decision to involve the NCA and strip away responsibility for those investigations from the force. But would she confirm that the national inquiry will look at the role of the police, not only in cover-ups, but in the crimes themselves?
Absolutely, yeah. The South Yorkshire Police should never have been left to investigate themselves in this matter, and so yes, moving over to the NCA is the absolutely right thing to do. But I would be lying if I said that over the years I have not met girls who talk to me about how police were part of the perpetration, not just the cover-up.
So she knew that the police were part of being part of the perpetrators rather than the perpetration. I'm not sure that's a word. But she didn't do anything about it. She didn't say anything. She didn't report them. She didn't ask for an inquiry. Even now, the inquiry has still not yet been sort of properly formed. We don't know what its terms of reference are. We don't know when it's going to start, when it's going to finish, when there's likely to be some kind of adjudication. It's all very wishy-washy, isn't it?
I mean, let's be clear, the Labour Party have been forced into doing this inquiry.
Yeah.
They're not doing it because they want to. They've done it kicking and screaming because of the report that came out from Louise Casey saying we need a national inquiry. They were, even though there was polling done, the country was desperate for it. There was mass support for a national inquiry. They kept saying, oh no, we don't need to because we need to focus on implementing the ICSA report.
They all kept saying
everyone
we've already
knows
had
the
one.
ICSA report is a sham and it's got no focus whatsoever on grooming gangs, not relevant to this issue. And Jess Phillips has been really disappointing because I think there have been a lot of people,
hopeless, I would say,
both left and right, who even if they disagree with her left-wing views generally have said, oh, she's a great campaigner for women, she really cares about sexual abuse. But then when it came to the grooming gangs, interestingly, she's not. And isn't it convenient that she's in a seat where she nearly lost to one of these pro-Gaza MPs and was shouted and screamed at when the result of her count was announced. And she was on, she's been doing media rounds, she was on LBC when asked about the link between certain groups like Afghans and sexual assault. She says, oh no, that the problem is just all men from all cultures commit sexual assaults and crimes. It's not got anything to do with immigration. It's just all men are evil.
Absolutely
it's
shameful.
really disappointing, and it's not just her. It's so many so-called feminists on the left. They are dead silent when it comes to the grooming gangs. They've been big campaigners.
They're
for
also
women
the same women,
and
by
all
the
these
way.
#MeToo campaigners.
The same women that you were just quoting, like Paloma Faith and Diane Abbott, who were saying, it's wrong of people on the right to associate sexual assault with migrants who are coming to this country from third world hellholes. Well, it's not wrong, because it turns out that one of the reasons what we know is happening is that an awful lot of people who are staying in these migrant hotels are committing sex crimes. It's a fact, So, of course they're not all doing it. That's not the point. A very much higher proportion of them are doing it than the people who are walking around the streets outside. Simple as that.
And these lefties, they just blame the media and say, oh, the media, they just focus on like a few extreme cases. And I'm sure most...
Like the bloke from Ethiopia who was trying to have sex with a 14-year-old girl in Epping.
The thing is, we get one of these crazy stories almost every day. It's constant. It's not the case that we've just had one or two stories that the press have blown up and made a big thing about. This is going on constantly, and we've had, was it The Sun who did the numbers adding up, figuring out how many people from hotels have been in court for various different crimes.
Hundreds.
And it's huge, even when they're just looking at the number of hotels that we know about, because the Home Office won't give us a full list of where all the hotels are in this country.
But listen, we've got to stop again because we're nearly out of time. We've got another couple of minutes to do. We're going to tell you about a prankster who hid a phone in the House of Commons yesterday with some rude noises on it. And also, we'll be talking about Doctor Who. Apparently they wasted 100 million quid making Doctor Who in the last year. What an absolute shambles. That's the BBC for you. 6:55.
Fortunately, in this case, justice has been served. Every peaceful protester who went to the Bell Hotel in Epping has had their protest entirely vindicated by these verdicts. What it also shows is that this lamentable Home Office, led by the deplorable Yvette Cooper, who readily admits that it puts the concerns and the interests of asylum seekers and illegal migrants
across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back to Morning Glory. We've literally got about a minute to do a couple of quick stories. Doctor Who wastes £100 million. It's on page 27 of The Sun. I mean, I don't understand. It's one of the cheapest shows that you've ever seen, isn't it? I mean, how do they waste that kind of money on a show that is dying on its backside, effectively?
Probably on a load of DEI officers overseeing the whole production to make sure it ticks all of the boxes. Yeah, I mean, this is what happens when you have a broadcaster that is not run like a business, spending money on shows, is they just waste it. And
when they had this guy Nikuti Gatwa, he quit as the Time Lord in May as ratings for the sci-fi classic fell amid criticism of its woke storylines. I mean, it went woke and they've gone broke.
Yeah.
But in fact, it's our money. That's the problem.
But that's the problem is
Dr. Woke, they should call
it.
it.
They don't go broke because they keep on taking the licence fee payer money, and so they don't learn their lessons. And what I hear is that any show the BBC does, they have got an insane number of staff, way too many. I mean, what happened to that saying too many cooks spoil the broth? It doesn't apply to them, apparently.
I know. Absolutely right. Anyway, listen, Chloe, great to see you. I may see you later up in Birmingham, but you may be leaving before I get there, so we'll see. But it's a Reform Party conference kicking off tonight. Jeremy Carr will be there. I'll be there. There'll be lots and lots of stuff going on. We'll keep you abreast of it all. We're waiting for Angela Rayner to resign, basically. We're just on a sort of death watch, is what we're doing. We'll be back after the news.
How much, ladies and gentlemen, are fish and chips where you come from? We'll go to Jason in Crewe.
Jason from Crewe. Fish, chips and peas, £7.50. It's the best chippy in England.
Janice in Leeds, go.
Regarding fish and chips in Leeds, it's between £9.50 and £12.75.
Whitby, how much is fish and chips?
3 of us, fish, chips, peas, I think one of us curry sauce, 3 cans of pop, just short of 70 quid.
£70? That's 23 quid a head, man. Even my maths does that. Very quickly, a voice note. Campbell in Scotland, go.
Up here in Banff in the northeast of Scotland, we can get a fillet and a half of haddock with a regular chips for £8 and 10 pence, and it's by far and away one of the best chippies I've ever had.
Kenneth in Surrey, fish and chips, go.
Fish and chips in Ascot, about half a mile from where you used to live, will cost you £12 and 60 pence. Great show. Keep up the good work.
That's why I moved, because you were living there. When was the last time you had fish and chips?
Couple of weeks ago.
How much? Where'd you get it from?
I think it was about 40 quid. It was it was in the Ivy.
Honestly, you really are. For any of you who think he's a man of the people, I nearly said you're a...
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back to Morning Glory. 3 minutes past 7. It's Friday, September the 5th, and I'm afraid for the Labour government it's Black Friday. We're basically on resignation watch here at the home of common sense, because I don't think Angela Rayner is going to last the day. It looks very much like she's going to have to go, because not only was she in big trouble yesterday when she started weaving this ridiculous kind of, complicated web of intrigue about how there was a trust that was put in place for her son. There was an injunction against revealing anything about it. She took some money out of it in order to buy a new flat in Hove, which is not clear who's going to be living there. She revealed that she wasn't going to be living in the house where her kids live, because obviously they get looked after by her former husband. And, her entire life looks like a car crash, right? And this morning, I'm afraid, that everything she said yesterday about getting the wrong tax advice has been denied by the people who were actually handling the sale of the property. The surveyors have come out and said, basically, they're not to blame because they didn't give her any tax advice, despite the fact that she says they gave her the wrong tax advice. Rayner's lawyer rebuts her tax claim, is what it says on the front page of the Daily Telegraph. Legal firm says it didn't offer advice on stamp duty, contradicting her statement. They also say that, or they certainly intimate, that they didn't know about the trust. They would certainly suggest that they didn't know about all the circumstances around the mortgage application that she was making, which I have to say puts her in a rather difficult position. Front page of The Sun. Angela Rayner's bid to cling to her job in an unpaid tax row was dealt a hammer blow last night by her own solicitors. So even they have deserted her, right? The Deputy Prime Minister, who could face a verdict from the ethics watchdog today, tried to blame bad legal advice for failing to pay £40,000 of stamp duty, but the small family firm she used, who were called Barrico and Associates, might be called Veruca and Associates, said it had based its calculations on information Rayner herself provided, suggesting, even if you were trying to be really fair to Angela Rayner, that she wasn't entirely truthful about what the circumstances were of the need for her to borrow this money. Some people are asking, how on earth does she even get a £600,000 or £700,000 mortgage? How does she even somehow manage to remove money from a trust which was put there sacredly after money was won in compensation from the NHS Stockport Health Trust, where you're not supposed to take the money out unless it's to be used for the person for whom the trust has been made and set up, which is the son. So it's all over the place, this story. But what I can tell you is she's gone. She is toast. She is not coming back anytime soon. Stick a fork in her, as some would say in America. She is done. Let's get a voice note from Steve.
Hey, Michael, Steve in sunny Southport. Those clips of Raina and the Labour Party, absolute masterclass. Your production team, take a bow. Is there anywhere that we can actually see them, share them, YouTube or anything like that? Because they are absolutely amazing. Brilliant. Keep up the good work, guys.
If you're talking about the Conservative Party montage, yeah, you can. I actually tweeted it out last night, so if you go on my Twitter, you'll find it, but I'll tweet it out again. Because, she is in a lot of trouble, ladies and gentlemen, and I'm not even sure this is where it ends. She has to resign as the Secretary of State for Housing herself, obviously, and, of course, the communities, and levelling up. She's levelled herself up nicely, hasn't she? She's suddenly gone from a grandmother of 36 to being a multi-millionaire with the use of 3 properties. One in Admiralty Gate, which she will lose, by the way, if she gets fired. One in Greater Manchester, which apparently she doesn't go to very often, even though she claims it's her main residence for council tax purposes. This is a woman who, I'm sorry to say, looks like she's constructed an entire web of deceit in order to advantage herself and not pay as much tax as she should. And considering that this government wants to tax everybody up the wazoo and blame people for buying second homes, I think it's pretty disgraceful, quite frankly, and she deserves everything she gets. So we're on Rayner watch. I'm going to say I get she resigns. I mean, Reform's party conference gets underway later on this morning. David Bull's going to be hosting that. Jeremy Kyle will also be hosting bits of it from the afternoon onwards. And at around about 4:30, Nigel Farage is going to be making his sort of keynote speech. Lee Anderson's speaking as well. I'm going to be up there later on. There are worries, apparently, inside of the tent, if you like, in Reform, that Angela Rayner will try and do as much damage to them as she can do, because they're so obsessed with them, that she will resign literally on the stroke of 4 o'clock. I think she goes sooner than that. That would be my bet. But, I'm usually proved right. We shall see. This is Morning Glory. This is the home of common sense. It's the only place to be, quite frankly, while we watch and wait for Angela Rayner to walk out the door of number 10 Downing Street and say, "That's your lot. I'm out of here. I've done it proper, innit? You know what I mean? I'm going to go see Oasis, right? Or maybe I'll take a quick holiday in Ethiopia." 8 minutes past 7. Great messages coming, and I've got this from Els Bells in Shropshire. How can this government continue to be in power? Every day they must be clinging on by their fingernails. Now, scandal after scandal, hypocrisy at best. And one from John in Liverpool. Mike, Richard III's interview about Angie sounded more like Wayne Rooney after a loss. Good to see you back. Should we give that another go? Because for those of you who didn't hear it in the first hour, I think we can't see this enough. This is Rachel Reeves supposedly defending her good friend Angela Rayner yesterday.
Yes, I have full confidence in Angela Rayner. She's a good friend and a colleague. She has accepted the right stamp duty wasn't paid. That was an error. That was a mistake. She is working hard now to rectify that, in contact with HMRC to make sure that the correct tax is paid. Anyone that saw Angela's statement yesterday, saw her interview yesterday, I think we'll have a lot of sympathy with some of the challenging family circumstances around this, around Angela's disabled.
Yeah, no sympathy at all, actually. Thanks anyway, Rach. Yeah, my good friend made a mistake, you know, now she's talking about rectifying it, and obviously, you know, talking to HMRC. I mean, seriously, these are important people in important jobs, and they can't even actually string two sentences together without going, Let's talk to Benedict Spence, political commentator, of course. Benedict, it's going from the sublime to the ridiculous now, isn't it?
Yeah, it's an amusing thing in some ways to wake up to. It's just so gratifying to watch somebody wallowing in the mess they've made for themselves.
Yeah.
Finally, somebody's maybe getting their comeuppance. Although, you know, let's perhaps not get ahead of ourselves. Who knows? We are expecting that it might happen today. As you said, all of those journalists decided actually Reform Party conference wasn't that exciting, that they wanted to be back in London in case it did happen. But who knows? Maybe they'll hold off. It's a curious situation, that, though, because, of course, first and foremost, actually, Keir Starmer probably doesn't want right now the headache of losing his deputy prime minister or housing minister, because there's a very real chance he might have to sack his chancellor in a couple of months'
Well, that's right. But this is going to be his forever failing, because he doesn't have the strength to sack people when he should have sacked them. I mean, he should have sacked her as soon as she came out and actually admitted that she hadn't paid the money that she owed, because he had been out there busy sort of defending her, along with various other colleagues of his. And they're so slippery and so ghastly that the longer she hangs around, the worse it looks for him.
Yeah, it's dreadful. It's dreadful optics. And you saw the half-hearted attempts at some parts of the media to sort of click into gear and go, oh, but isn't she so brassy, and isn't it a great story of a working-class woman who's raised herself up by her bootstraps? And you kind of thought, yeah, we've heard it before. It's not working this time, largely because it's working-class people who are particularly irritated by this.
Well, most working-class people don't have access to 3 different homes, and most of them can't afford a £700,000 mortgage.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's also something else that needs to be said, which is that it's going to be a very interesting conversation in the Rayner household as to how she continues to be able to afford her mortgage if she is sacked as a minister or deputy prime minister. That's going to make things a little bit difficult. But again, then maybe she'll have some understanding of the situation that is facing rather a lot of people in this country, rather a lot of people who are already struggling to pay their mortgages, and many more who are going to be coming off their rates later this year or early next year and are going to be in the same sort of situation.
Right. And that's the problem, you know, they do one thing and they don't really think about who it's affecting, and they think that they're just basically taking money from the rich. And most people in this country are not rich. Most people in this country work very hard for what it is that they have, and this Labour government has been chipping away at it over the course of the last year and a bit, to the point where people are worse off. And all you get from Starmer and his idiotic goons is, we're trying to put more money in the working people's pockets, you know. And actually what they're doing is stealing money from working people's pockets.
Yeah, the working people of this country are the people, you're right to say this, who they are going after. It is not, that this old-fashioned idea of the working class and they all walk down the cobbled streets in Manchester or Liverpool and they all go off to work together and they're all singing along the way. It doesn't exist anymore.
No.
That's not who they're helping
They're all
out.
carrying those union banners,
Yeah, exactly, the Jarrow Crusade or whatever.
Yeah.
But that's not who Labour are helping here. They're helping those people who are not contributing to the economy. The opposite of the working man is who they're actually sticking up for these days. And I tell you what, when you're a fabulously wealthy country, your economy's going gangbusters, and that percentage of the population is vanishingly small, well, yes, then you can get away with lavishing all sorts of benefits on people, but the sheer scale of that in this country now, juxtaposed with the sheer amount of tax that people have to pay, is crushing growth. It's crushing the economy.
Yeah.
And no matter how often people cry out and say we can't bear any more taxes, the tax system is complicated. Deputy Prime Minister, as you just found out, it's rather expensive to sell your house. Can you give us some relief? All we get is the drip-feeding stories from the Treasury that more taxes are coming in the autumn.
Yeah, exactly. And what I'm hearing is that an awful lot of people are expecting capital gains tax to now be applied not only to capital gains, but also possibly to income as well. So if you're making too much money, as far as they're concerned, they will hammer you not once, but twice. But let me give you this bit of breaking news. The average UK house price increased by 0.3% month on month in August, pushing average property values to a new record high. Presumably that's because Angela Rayner inflated the price of her own home.
I was going to say that someone there has done a lot of heavy lifting.
Yes. But I mean, the fact is the housing market is basically flat. Nobody's buying houses because the stamp duty is too high and too much. And so unless you're Angela Rayner and you just decide not to pay it, you're not going to buy a house.
Yeah, when people say the housing market grew by 0.3%, I think of that in much the same way as when the government says the economy grew by 0.3%.
Yeah.
Everybody looks around and goes, but we're getting poorer. And you
Right.
go, yeah, because it's not the full truth.
Exactly.
The reality is house prices across the board are falling, especially in places like London, of all places. Can you imagine that being said a couple of years ago? But it is happening, and it's happening on the watch of this government. And you're right again. Irony of ironies. It's stamp duty is one of the major obstacles.
Yeah.
To getting the thing moving.
No, listen, I've spoken to loads of people, particularly in London, who were thinking this was a good time to move because the kids are getting a bit bigger and, they need a slightly bigger place. But, I mean, the amounts of council tax, of stamp duty now are prodigious. I was speaking to one guy who's not particularly well off, who said that he worked out that he would have to pay something like £68,000 in stamp duty. And he's like, I'm just not doing it. So I'm not moving. So I'm not stimulating the economy. So I'm not getting a new kitchen. So I'm not getting a new bathroom. I'm not buying new white goods. So the whole economy suffers as a result of their useless dead hand economically, because Rachel Reeves doesn't know what the hell she's doing.
But the really horrific aspect of all of this is if Keir Starmer does sack her if he sacks her as housing minister, fine, nobody's really going to notice. But you can't sack her as housing minister and then keep her on as deputy prime minister. You probably have to get rid of her as
right. But apparently you can't sack her as deputy prime minister. She has to resign because apparently it's an elected position.
Exactly, and then that's what I'm getting at. You've then got the prospect of a deputy leadership election, and if people thought things were already bad in this particular government, right now that party has already decided to swing to the left. It's going to stop the government from cutting spending on benefits and things like that. Jeremy Corbyn and Zara Sultana have set up their travelling circus. Zach Polanski has become...
Have they got a name for it yet?
Who knows? But please, people, again, write in if you've got a better one. Your party, my party, their party, they party, it, whatever the pronouns this party decides to use, let us know. But also Zach Polanski is now leader of the Green Party, and you can see already the argument that will come from Labour MPs, which is we need to tack to the left, counterbalance reform. So if you think Angela Rayner was bad, imagine who they might end up electing as the new deputy to add to Keir Starmer's woes. It'll be somebody further left because this party is completely tin-eared. It has no idea what people want. It will think that is the best thing.
Yeah, exactly right. But, this woman has clearly cut a swathe through the union movement. She's become the kind of darling of the left. She's been untouchable. The last time Keir Starmer tried to fire her, she ended up with a better job because he just couldn't do it. He didn't have the cojones to do it. She was investigated by Manchester police, if you remember, some time ago about the two houses that she somehow managed to acquire, despite the fact that one of them was a council house and so was the other one. And you kind of go in, this woman has got form for having what might be described, I would say generously, as a very complicated financial network surrounding somebody who claims to be working class.
Yeah, it's... I tell you what, it's always irritated me for a very long time, actually, how she is almost, if you'll pardon the word, fetishized in Westminster by lots of middle-class left-wing journalists who think that this is what the working class looks like.
Right.
This is what working class...
Yeah, it's all, you know, white sunglasses and green flares. It is.
Yeah, and that she's a good old laugh and she's great down the pub and actually, you know, she's upbeat and optimistic and, you know, she speaks her mind and that this is what working people like, don't you know? And the reality is, for a very long time, her and another Labour MP, who I won't necessarily get into because, you know, her time will almost certainly come, but yeah, these two have been sort of held up as examples of what working England is. And it's not true. For so long, people have looked at her in working class communities and thought that she is, you know, gauche, that she is gobby, that she is a bad example for them. And I think that this idea of being slightly on the make, slightly on the take, is actually, it reflects badly on people from those communities.
Right.
They would be embarrassed by this, and embarrassed, frankly, that even now, that line about how she represents the working class is some sort of reason as to why she should be let off.
Yeah, and I mean, if she does represent the working class, what she's basically saying is the working class spend most of their time trying to cheat and lie their way through life. Which they don't do, actually. Generally very, very honest and hard-working, and I speak to people on a regular basis who ring into the show and leave voice notes and say, I'm out driving, I'll be working for 12 hours today, I'm sick to death of paying all the tax that I pay, but I haven't really got any choice. You know, that's not her. That's not her story. Her story is somebody who has taken every possible advantage of the position that she's been in and has basically strong-armed her way to the top of the Labour Party with the support of the Unite Union, and now she thinks she's untouchable. Well, guess what? She's not.
Exactly, and you know, this downfall, I was going to say it's not necessarily been a long time coming, but there's been something that's going to happen to this government for a very long time, and this could well be that first domino. We've had all the hilarious stories about, you know, the corruption minister charged with corruption fraud, the homelessness minister making people homeless, all that sort of thing. But this is such a major scandal simply because of the fact that this woman has been pushed to the very forefront. You know, probably just as many people know who she is as they know the Prime Minister. Dare I say, more people probably know who Angela Rayner is than know that Kemi Badenoch is leader of the Conservative Party. She is well known in her own right, as you say, because she's been pushed, she's had unions behind her, she's had newspapers behind her, she gets soft-pedaled interviews from certain outlets, and it has all been put up for her on a plate. And therefore, the fact that, as you say, she hasn't learned from the previous example over her housing situation. She didn't learn, maybe take advantage of the fact that you will have the access to some of the best legal minds in the country, and apparently some of the worst. You know, you should be on top of this sort of thing, but you felt you could get away with it. You felt that you were untouchable, and now that fall is going to come.
Yeah, I'm afraid so. And we've got a clock running right now. We're 1 hour 21 minutes into the show. I'm suggesting it's going to come around about just after midday, is my thinking, but we'll see if I'm proved right. Benedict, good to see you. Thank you very much indeed. Benedict Spence, political commentator there on the demise of Angela Rayner, which I can assure you is well underway. Let's get a voice note from Mark.
Morning, Mike. It's Mark in Lancashire. HMRC have historically been merciless with high-profile tax dodgers. Think Lester Piggott, Ken Dodd, Jimmy Carr. They know that the big fines that they dish out get on the front page of the newspapers, and it frightens all the rest of us into compliance. So let's see if they do this with Ange, which they historically have with other people, or if HMRC have also been taken in by this two-tier justice system, which we have, where it's leniency for the left and merciless compliance for anybody on the right of politics.
Yeah. You mean two-tier tax? That sort of thing. She's going to resign today and schedule it so the media leave the Reform UK conference and head to London. Pathetic Labour politics, says Matt in Hove. This is a funny coincidence. Morning, Mike. The wheels have definitely come off Starmer's wagon, says Margaret in Birmingham. And Mark says, morning, Mike. I don't see Starmer having the balls to sack her. The hypocrisy is the reason voters are disengaged with politics, as they all say one thing but do another. I doubt any party is any different. Well, the trouble is, when people start to take advantage, when people start to think that they're entitled to things, like Angela Rayner clearly does. She thinks she's a special case. She thinks she should get special treatment. She doesn't think she should be questioned. She thinks that she's the queen of the roost. She thinks that she's the Red Queen. Well, I'm afraid the crown is falling off her head, and tomorrow she's going to be nobody again. And that, I can assure you, is what's going to happen. 7:23. Very good morning to you, by the way. Morning, Tory, with me, Mike Graham.
Just some breaking news for you coming out of Liverpool Crown Court.
Good afternoon. Welcome to the programme. Welcome to the home of common sense.
Loads to talk about, I promise you that. Loads and loads and loads.
Yes, it's me again, your genial host, Kevin O'Sullivan.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back to Morning Glory, 7:27, very nearly. It's Friday the 5th of September, Black Friday for the government, it has to be said, because all the coins and the ducks are in a row, it would seem, and Angela Rayner is going to be out of a job before the end of the day. That's the way it looks. I haven't heard any voices to the contrary. They're trying to send out Douglas Alexander today on the old breakfast news round. Of course, he's not coming on here to try and defend her, saying, oh, we must now wait. They're now starting to say things like, no, we're defending her, she didn't do anything wrong. They're now saying, they've moved the dial to now saying, oh, there's an investigation going on, so what we have to do is wait until the investigation is complete and all the facts are established, and then Keir Starmer will be informed by the ethics boss, and we'll find out whether or not there's anything we can do about that. So it's quite an interesting shift in the way that the government is now handling the story. Yesterday it was all about defending Angela Rayner and saying that they were very proud to stand by her and to sit next to her and to watch what she'd done as a working class woman and how brilliant she is. Now it turns out that she's told an entire tissue of lies about the tax advice that she got. Remember, she said 2 days ago that she was given bad advice. Well, the people who advised her said they didn't give her any advice about tax. What they did was they dealt with her claim to buy a property in Hove and her attempt to buy a property in Hove with all the information that she supplied, suggesting, I'm afraid, that she didn't give them all the information. That's what you can conclude. But let's talk now to Rebecca Bennyworth, who's a chartered accountant and tax lecturer. Rebecca, very good morning to you.
Morning, Mike.
This is all a bit of a mess, isn't it? And it seems that Angela has kind of dropped herself right in the middle of it.
Yeah, it is a bit of a mess. As someone who gives advice, not necessarily on trust, certainly, when people are going for advice from a specialist, it's really, really important that they give them all the information. Yeah. And this certainly sounds like what's happened here. And generally, a piece of advice will set out, you've told me this, and on the basis of that, I'll tell you this. And I think if she received written advice, then we'd probably see something that looks a bit like that. But it looks as if it is a right muddle.
Yes, because from what the statement is from the people who supposedly she said she got the advice from, I mean, they're suggesting that they haven't done anything wrong. They say the stamp duty for the Hove flat was calculated using HMRC's own online calculator based on the figures and the information provided by Ms. Rayner, which is a fairly damning statement of the truth, because it would suggest, therefore, that the calculator said we had to pay £30,000 based on the information provided to us. We believe we did everything correctly and in good faith, which again suggests that she didn't tell them everything she should have told them.
Yeah, she's got quite complex personal affairs, as she's admitted in her statement, because of her divorce and her disabled child. And
this trust, which is all very mysterious as well.
That's actually the nub of where the problem is the trust. I think, sorry, my alarm's just gone off.
Your alarm's gone off. Don't worry, you don't need it. You're already awake.
No, I know. It is the trust that's at the root of the problem, and I think what she should have done, a normal firm of conveyancing solicitors wouldn't give advice about trusts. What they would do is say to a buyer, is this your only property?
Right.
And clearly the answer given was yes, it is, and she believed it was. I'm prepared to believe that she genuinely believed it was, but knowing that she's a trustee of a trust, she should really have gone back to the trust solicitors and said, look, you know, how do I answer this question? So I think she should have dug a bit deeper.
But see, I don't know if she was the trustee of the trust. We don't know that, because according to people I've spoken to, most of these trusts that are set up to protect the individual, i.e. her son, are not run by the family. They're run by people outside the family, right? And so it's unusual, to say the least, for her to then have a payment made from the trust to her, effectively selling her part of the property that she owned in Manchester, Greater Manchester, for the purposes of her putting that property, putting that money down as a deposit on another property where the son isn't going to live.
Yeah, I think with it, I mean, obviously we don't see the trust document, it's not in the public domain. What I've read this morning is that she and her ex-husband and a lawyer are the three trustees. Now, I don't know where that information came from, but obviously trustees are obliged to act in the best interest of the beneficiary at all times, and would be personally liable. If they did something that was inappropriate, they would personally have to pay the money back, refund any losses. So.
But also, my experience of buying property is that you get asked quite a lot of significantly intrusive questions about where, say, for example, your deposit money is coming from, and exactly how you came by it, because particularly now with the new money laundering rules, you know, they want to know that you've had that money for a while. They want to know that it's been sitting in a bank account for a while. They want to know that it has been gifted to you. You know, they ask some quite pertinent questions. I would have thought that if she didn't reveal the fact that that money was coming from a trust and that it was somehow savings, that's also misleading, to say the least.
Yes. Was she, I mean, we won't know again, was she asked the questions or did they make assumptions? Generally, you've got to send bank statements in showing that the
It's
source
worse
of
than that.
money.
You've got to send PDFs of bank statements. They don't accept them unless they're in a particular form. You know, you can't just, you know, cobble something together and screenshot it.
No.
I mean, it's very specific. This is what I'm saying. You know, that she's either been completely and deliberately misleading, or they haven't asked the questions. And it seems to me from their statement today in the papers, they asked all the right questions.
They probably asked the questions and she didn't realise the import of the questions. And I'm afraid for somebody in her position, I think most people would agree it's not good enough.
No. And I mean, is it right that if you don't pay the correct stamp duty, it's a breach of the law?
Yeah, she'll have made an incorrect return. The lawyers will have done it on her behalf, but it still counts as her making a return. So she's underpaid tax on a return, so there is a penalty for that, and the penalty is determined by whether HMRC believe you've been careless or whether it was deliberate. And they'll assess all the facts.
Well, HMRC, whenever I've dealt with them, and I mentioned this yesterday, I was late paying a VAT, a quarterly VAT payment once because my accountant messed up and didn't remind me to do it. But they fined me, and I tried to appeal it, and I said the reason that this happened was because of an oversight. An email wasn't sent, I wasn't reminded to do it, so I'm now paying you, and I'm sorry it's a month late. And they said, unfortunately, being careless is not an excuse.
Yeah.
So I didn't get let off.
In this
and they fined me.
situation, to satisfy reasonable care, what she would have had to have done is show that she took advice from someone she reasonably believed was competent to advise her, that she gave them all the facts, and that she acted on that advice.
Yeah, but I think if she pushes that, it seems to me that this woman who is running the conveyancing firm will push back. Joanna Verico, she says quite clearly, we believe that we did everything correctly and in good faith. Everything was exactly as it should be. We are probably being made scapegoats for all this, and I've got the arrow stuck in my back to show it. We are not an inexperienced firm, but we're also not qualified to give advice on trust and tax matters, and we advise clients to seek expert advice on these.
Yeah.
Which again suggests to me that they didn't advise her to seek expert advice because she didn't tell them about the trust.
Absolutely. And she, being involved in the trust, she should have gone to the trust lawyers and checked with them. Right. Because, you know, well, I've just went through the definition of reasonable care, give them all the information. Right. If she didn't give her conveyancers all the information, then they couldn't possibly advise her correctly.
No.
If she had said, I think there might be a trust involved, clearly from what the lady has said this morning, they would have said, right, you'll have to go and get specific advice about that, go to a trust specialist, and then come back and answer the question. So
do you think there's a possibility that she's broken some law here?
Well, it's it's not a criminal offence. A criminal offence.
Tax evasion is a criminal offence, isn't it?
Tax evasion is a criminal offence. I don't think there's any suggestion that she. There's no suggestion at the moment that she deliberately lied in order to minimise her tax bill. I think what she did is not take.
Well, you may say that. That's a very confident statement you've just made there, but I'm not sure that I would say there's absolutely no evidence of that, because it seems as though, as you say, she's got a very complicated financial sort of series of arrangements going on, and it doesn't look like somebody who has done things by accident. Don't forget, you know, she was investigated by Manchester Police last year over the ownership of 2 council houses and the flip-flopping of you know, how that was all done for capital gains tax avoidance.
Yeah, I mean, she's omitted to tell somebody something important. She may well have thought it wasn't important. She may well have thought it wasn't relevant. I think it falls somewhere in the middle, and I think careless is probably about where we are. But we wouldn't expect a minister of the government to be careless with their tax affairs.
Well, particularly the Minister for Housing, who's supposed to know everything there is to know about council tax and stamp duty, which she is now in the frame for because she didn't get it right. And, you know, they were the party that put it up. So she surely must have had a grasp of who's now going to have to pay higher stamp duty as a result of changes in government policy.
Well, I think
I think you're being very generous.
I could now start in. Well, I'm trying to analyse it from a technical objective rather than a.
I'm just dealing with the facts. I'm literally just dealing with the facts. I mean, she's the housing minister, right? She's being set up as the person who knows about communities, about levelling up, about the kind of taxes that the government is putting on people because the market has basically stalled as a result of it. And here she is, apparently unaware of what she should have paid.
Yeah, well,
I call that more than careless. She knew that she apart from anything else, for council tax purposes, she tells us that her main residence is the one in Greater Manchester, which she now says she doesn't spend very much time in.
I can't. I'm not qualified to comment on council tax, but if I just
but you are qualified to comment on which is her main home. She says that her main home is in Manchester.
I don't know. I don't know where Miss Rayner lives.
Well, she doesn't live in Manchester because she said in an interview that she only goes there to visit her son from time to time and basically lives there with his father.
Well, they're joint carers, aren't they?
No, she says when she can, she goes up there to see him.
Okay. I'm on to talk about stamp duty land tax, and the point I would just like to make to you, Mike, is that there are probably only 30 or 40 people in the whole of the UK who understand the complexities of stamp duty land tax. If I was going to have a right moan, I might criticise the complexity of tax legislation.
Well, I was on the brink of buying a house about 3 weeks ago, right? Which in the end I didn't do. But I knew exactly what the stamp duty was going to be because the people that I was working with told me.
And they told you on the basis of whether you owned another property or not. And that's at the nub of this is, did she mislead them about whether she owned another property or not? Or did she not understand her position and the fact that she was deemed to own a share in the property? And I'll say the only way she could be deemed to own it is through a connection through the trust.
Yes.
What she should have done is
But it's not clear, is it, how much of the trust actually owns it, because the various different accounts have suggested that she sold 50% of her share to the trust for £169,000. I don't know if that's true, but that's what I was told, which means that she still presumably owns 50% of what she used to own. So say she owns now 25%, so she still owns another home if she only owns 25% of it, doesn't she?
I think what happened is when the divorce happened, which was a few years ago, a share of the property of both parents went into trust at that point, and each parent, by the sound of it, retained some, and she disposed of her remaining part in January of this year. That's the gist of what I've seen in the newspapers.
But what could be the reason why she would do that other than to raise money for a deposit?
Quite possibly. Well,
what other reason would there be?
She needed the money for something else, but
it's not her money though. The money's for her son, surely.
She has openly said that she disposed of her share and took the money and used it as a deposit on the flat in Hove.
But that doesn't sound like it's in the spirit of what the trust is for.
Well, it would have been done at market value, and lawyers would have had to get involved at that point, and trust lawyers would have had to have been involved at that point.
Right. But there's also an allegation that the price was inflated so that she'd get more money out of it.
Well, if she did, she'll be in trouble.
Yeah, I think we could end it there, I think, because I think she is in trouble, big time. Listen, great to talk to you. Thank you very much indeed. I didn't really put you on the spot, Rebecca. Rebecca Bennyworth there, whose alarm went off in the middle of it all. I think Angela Rayner's alarm's going off all the time now. Whoop, 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 whoop. Let's get a voice note from James.
Morning, Mike. It's Rachel Reeves. Why is she stammering? What's the matter with her? And then she didn't look like she wanted to back her, did she? When she went, she's a good friend, and then tailed off. Under what? A dirty rat bag who hasn't paid her taxes properly. Get lost, Rachel. I'll have a good weekend when she's been sacked this afternoon. God, it's terrible. And that I've had to now, because she's back in the news, see that stupid video of her dancing in Ibiza or wherever she was. I'm seeing DJ and Ibiza. Good God.
Brilliant, James. Thank you very much indeed. Gaff-prone Friday, of course. No bigger gaff than Angela Rayner screwing up a mortgage application. But how about this from Matt Vickers with Jeremy Kyle?
I'm coming on your show with increasing frequency because I realise it's much more effective than anything like Tinder or Hinge. I seem to be getting lots of DMs on the back of your promotion.
Let's just talk about this. Matt Vickers, ladies and gentlemen, let's just put this. He cares about the country. He's been very honest about the Tories. He's taken to going to IKEA with his parents at the weekend. The man is desperate for love, and every time he comes on the show, he gets DMs. But look at it this morning. If you notice, the shirt's undone to the waist. It's all going on, man. We're here to talk about politics, not your inability to get a girlfriend.
We're working on it. We're working on it. The DMs are filling up.
Yeah, Tory party's dead, apparently, according to Nadine Dorries. No wonder he can't get a girlfriend. It's 7:43.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back to Morning Glory, 7:45, running slightly late. Hi, Mike. Angela Rayner's actions are despicable, says Johnny Bexley-Heath. Does she not realise that £40,000 she underpaid would have kept a migrant happy in a hotel for a whole year? So selfish. And one from Steve in Kimberley, Nottinghamshire. Morning, Mike. Whatever the outcome, Ms Rayner throwing her lawyers under the bus may backfire. A recall petition could be in the offing. Yeah, well, this is the trouble. Once you start, like, bandying around truths and untruths and you start to mess around, particularly with lawyers who tend to think that people who tell lies actually should be outed as people who tell lies, I'm sure. That's not going to play well for her. And this from Susan. Mike, surely Angela Rayner's son's compensation was awarded for paying for his care to look after her son throughout his adult life. Why? So in which case is she using her disabled son as a pity plea? Sounds like she's abandoned him. Well, I mean, from what we know, she certainly doesn't spend as much time in the home that he is in as you might expect, and she doesn't seem to spend as much time there as her husband, ex-husband, does. You can't be critical of that because she's a working woman and she's got a very important job. But, you know, don't try and pull the sympathy card and talk about, you know, my family and my son if you don't spend any time with them. You know, it doesn't work. Let's talk to Jeff Podula, reporter at Northwest Radio Seattle, because Donald Trump's back in the news. Here's a clip about him talking about death rumours at the tech White House dinner. I had a call about this, actually, last week when I was in America from somebody in England. Have you heard about Donald Trump? Apparently he's dead. Have a look at this.
Running,
I just want to thank everybody for being here. I want to thank the media. They've been very nice lately, although I'm still here. So we have to... They made a couple of bad predictions. That was not good. I've never had that feeling before. I went to an event and people are coming up to me and saying, "You're still here." I said, "What do they mean by that? I didn't hear about this." But anyway, I do. The press has been great in terms of this industry, and they understand the importance of it. This is taking our country to a new level. We're leading the world. We're leading China, but we're leading the world by a lot, and we're leading it because of the people around the table. And all I can do is implement and make it a lot easier for you, and I'll be doing that 100%. So I just want to thank you all.
And that's Donald Trump talking at this tech summit that he had at the White House to Bill Gates and Zuckerberg from Facebook, or Meta, as it's now called. Let's have a word with Jeff and see what he makes of it all. Jeff, very good morning to you.
Good morning. Yeah, it's not often that Donald Trump praises the American press. So as a member of the American press, at least I'm a little relieved of that point of the story.
Take it where you can. What was it? Who was it that said, allegations of my death have been grossly exaggerated or something like that?
Yeah, the internet giveth and the internet taketh away. I mean, rumors like this spread quite a bit. I remember a few years ago, the famed actor Jeff Goldblum had the same sort of thing. People thought he was dead. It spread on Twitter pretty quickly, and it quickly got debunked. But for the leader of the free world, as we in America like to call him, that's something a little bit different.
Well, it is a bit different because, I mean, the last time I had anything like this was years and years ago when my sister worked in Wall Street and I was working in a newspaper, and she called me one day and said, "We're hearing John Major, who was the Prime Minister, is dead." I'm like, what? And of course he wasn't. But it moves markets, because if suddenly the President of the United States has died, suddenly people are shorting all sorts of stocks and, buying all sorts of bonds and, did it move the market over there?
Well, it's hard to say what moves the market because everything has been so volatile as of late. I mean, the tariffs are back in the news this week. There was obviously the talk of the HHS secretary. He had a very tense hearing earlier this morning. So the markets have been quite volatile over the last several days. What exactly moves investors without talking to them each one-on-one? It's really hard to say.
Yeah, indeed. Meanwhile, apparently Trump is going to rebrand the Pentagon as the Department of War, which is possibly not the greatest idea he's had.
Well, and keep in mind, it was called the Department of War since the country's founding up until about 1947, when the Defense Authorization Act of 1947 was passed. This was after World War II, when then President Harry Truman split the Air Force and the Army into two separate groups, created the Department of Defense. Didn't really create it, but renamed the Department of War the Department of Defense. But it's part of Donald Trump, and I would suspect that the Secretary of Defense, who presumably is now going to be the Secretary of War, and Pete Hegseth had a lot to do with this, the push to make the America's fighting force feared more so than it already is.
I mean, given what happened in China the other day, you might want to be very sure that if you did have a war with China, you would want to win it. But they looked like they had a lot more stuff than America has.
Yeah, and well, I don't know that changing the name of the administrative building or the administrative agency is really going to do that. I mean, that's, I guess, by definition, all cosmetic. But let's keep in mind, too, that back in 1947, it took an act of Congress to change the name of the Department of War to the Department of Defense. So really, an executive order is not going to do much, maybe change a few things on letterhead, but it would take, again, an act of Congress to change it from the Department of Defense back to the Department of War.
Yeah, indeed. Fascinating stuff. Jeff, good to talk to you. Thanks very much indeed. Jeff Pogula there from Northwest Radio in Seattle, over in the US of A. Paul from Dorset says, Rachel Reeves looked like she wanted to spit yesterday when she described Angela Rayner as a friend. Yeah, it didn't look great. We'll play that out again in the next hour. Coming next, though, Rupert Bell's here. We're going to talk about the Royals.
Why should we wait for the independent watchdog where, in this case, when Angela Rayner has called for people to resign long before we've had a report from an independent watchdog for Tories caught up in similar scandals?
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back to Morning Glory, 7:55. I'm Mike Graham. Isn't it hilarious, says Grantos in Oldham, that Reeves is out defending Raina. It was only the other month when Reeves was blubbing in Parliament. Raina wouldn't even look at her. And she was smiling, wasn't she? This one from Richard in Crowborough. It's only my opinion, but if Raina's sacked, she'll have a big drop in income, and I reckon she'll likely have to let the hoe flat go, and people will know she's desperate to sell. I think she'll lose her shirt on this one. Well, I'm not suggesting that Rupert Bell's ever lost his shirt on any property deals, but he's here to talk to us about the royal situation. Very good morning to you, Rupert.
Good morning, Mike. Interesting segue there, but anyway,
well,
my shirts are all right, actually.
That's good.
At the moment.
I'm glad to hear it. There's a lot of talk about the new hairstyle that the Princess of Wales is sporting. And I mean, I don't want to be the bringer of bad news to you, but some people are saying to me, it looks a bit like a wig. Could it be?
No. I'm absolutely sure it's not. I'm not going to fall for that conspiracy theory. I've talked to other women who know. Look, my hair is my own. I have no need for a hairpiece.
Well, you say that, but I mean, you've got quite a high forehead, to be honest.
Well, it's receding a bit, but there we go. Never mind. I'm of a certain age, but I think, look, obviously people are speculating, given what she's gone through. Has she, through chemo, has it turned out to be, is she wearing a wig?
Yeah.
Well, when you look at all the other pictures of seeing her with the hair blowing in the wind and everything, it looks completely normal. And here's one of the things that I find when Diana was alive. I remember Princess of Wales is, I think, 6 years older than Diana was when she died.
Yeah.
There is inevitably going to be focus on everything she wears, how she looks. And I find this as just sort of being objective as a rather uncomfortable aspect of the royal sort of watch, if you see what I mean. That we have to analyse everything about the Princess of Wales, her first appearance back. And now people are suggesting that she's wearing a wig. Well, as far as I'm concerned, it doesn't look like a wig. She's always had long hair. What she's probably done looks like she's had it dyed, but again, I'm no expert on these things. This is way out of my pay grade to be talking about a lady's hair, but it looks totally natural to me. So I want to put to bed those conspiracy theories suggesting.
It's just a very unusual colour. She's always been dark-haired, and she's always had sort of rather lustrous, long, dark hair, which suddenly now has turned blonde. And, listen, she can do whatever she likes with her hair. The only other thing I can tell you, from my experience, is that women only change their hair drastically, usually when they get a new boyfriend, which obviously would not be true in this case either.
Well, you really are going. Well, you do lead an interesting life, Mike. I was unaware of that particular need for changing people's hair, but I think probably, as far as I understand, women can get bored with how their colour of their hair looks. So, hence the reason they probably decided that she probably decided over the summer, maybe it got a bit bleached or wherever they were, and thought, oh, this is actually quite a good look, and actually done it more formally. And yet she's got a long hair anyway, so I don't think there's anything to be read into these conspiracy theories. But as I say, I do find it an uncomfortable aspect of the fact that we analyse how she looks to an nth degree. Oh my goodness, she's this, that, what's she wearing that for, what's she doing? And I actually think just leave her to get on with her job. We don't look at William yesterday and say, well, my goodness me, his hairline's going back even further, or something like that. We leave him alone, yet we are concentrating.
Oh, I don't know. I think people who sort of spend their lives watching the Royals talk about absolutely everything. I mean, poor old Meghan Markle is now getting pilloried because her new show isn't doing very well. It didn't make the top 10 in Netflix around the world. Somebody probably will say maybe she should have had a different hair colour. I don't know. But listen, Rupert, good to talk to you. We've got to run. Rupert Bell talks royal correspondent there, debunking any suggestion that that's a wig. Obviously not a wig. He knows. He's the expert. I'm Mike Graham. Coming up.
My message to people smugglers is this. I think smashing the gangs is a deterrent. Smash, 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 smash the gangs. Smash the people smuggling gangs.
People smuggling puns.
He couldn't even smash an avocado for a piece of toast.
Or the people... What would that... The people...
I think smashing the gangs is a deterrent. Well, it might be if you smashed any, if you found any.
The people smash... The smash...
And he hasn't smashed anything. I mean, literally all he does is he smashes records every sort of couple of weeks, where more and more people come in a period of 24 hours.
Smash the gangs that are running this vile trade.
You're never going to smash the gangs. That's something that basically is impossible. The gangs are like the Hydra. You cut the head off and another two grow.
So I did write to ministers and say that I wasn't convinced that smashing the gangs was the right sort of way of thinking about things.
We will smash the gangs that undermine our security.
Keir Starmer has just tweeted 15 minutes ago. He says, I know you're angry about immigration. I get it. We will smash the people smuggling gangs at source. Maybe I'll just read it all in his accent, shall I?
There is no return to freedom of movement. We have left the EU. I do not accept that prevents us working with other police units here, with prosecutors here, to smash the gangs.
Well, I'm sure the smuggling gangs are absolutely quaking in their boots now. Keir Starmer is on their case. Solving this issue, smashing the gangs, is that the impossible dream, Tom?
It really seems beyond him at the minute, I have to say.
We're going to get the evil people smugglers and we're going to smash them and we're going to put them in jail. That will solve the migrant crisis. Prime Minister Keir Starmer's promise to smash the gangs has resulted in just 5 convictions. Hurrah for operating small boats.
So what he really wants to say is that this policy of smashing the gangs is a total and utter disaster. There isn't a cat in hell's chance that it's going to work.
It's crap. It's crap. That's what he's basically saying.
I know you're angry about immigration. I get it. Mark my words, I will take back control of our borders. That means cutting migration, ending the use of asylum hotels and ramping up our efforts to stop small boat crossings.
It's like a parallel universe, the real world, as told by the impressive David Bolt, and Keir Starmer and Rachel Reeves' fantasy world.
We will smash the people smuggling gangs at source.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back to Morning Glory. Coming up to very nearly 3 minutes past 8. It's Friday the 5th of September. It's Gaff Prone Friday. We'll be playing you some more gaffs over the course of the rest of the show, coming up until 10 o'clock when it's time for Alex Phillips, of course. But surely the biggest gaff of all this week has been Angela Rayner's. Angela Rayner's still on all the front pages this morning because it looks like all the stuff she told us about taking the wrong advice about her tax affairs turns out to be complete and utter rubbish. According to the front page of The Sun this morning, Angela Rayner's bid to cling to her job in an unpaid tax row was dealt a hammer blow last night by her own solicitors because a small family firm called Verico and Associates basically said that they tried to give her advice on all manner of things, but not on how much tax she should pay. They basically said that they've become scapegoats. They said they based their calculations on information that Angela Rayner herself provided, and that for her to say that the advice they gave her was somehow incorrect is disingenuous, to say the least. The front page of the Daily Telegraph says the same thing. Rayner's lawyer rebuts her tax claim. Legal firm says it didn't offer advice on stamp duty, contradicting her statement. On the front page of the Daily Mail, it also says Rayner's lawyers blame her for the tax fiasco, as Starmer won't rule out sacking her. And the Times front page says lawyers for Rayner deny giving her tax advice. So it pretty much pulls the rug away from anything that she was defending herself on yesterday. And so the word seems to be out on the street, certainly in the Westminster bubble, that she is toast, that she's gone, certainly by the end of today, possibly before the end of the afternoon, possibly by lunchtime. Who can say? We're going to talk to Kate Ferguson, political editor at The Sun on Sunday, who's up at Reform's conference in a moment. Let's have a listen, though, to what Angela Rayner said in 2022 about Epping.
Myself and Keir have said that it's the absolute minimum that if we break the rules, we cannot continue in office.
Well, I mean, that's pretty straightforward. If we break the rules, we cannot continue in office. She's certainly broken rules. Is a possibility. She might have even broken the law. It's not all that clear. Let's get a voice note from Gaz.
Morning, Mike. Great show, mate. Gaz from Pontefract. I'm loving this. I am absolutely loving this. The hypocrite Rayner looks like we'll be falling on a sword. Hopefully, fingers crossed today. Happy Friday and everything. I think Starmer must be terrified. She will not go down on her own. She will take him with her. And what a hypocrite. What a pair of hypocrites. They're all hypocrites. I can't wait for this House of Cards to collapse. This is fantastic. What a great weekend, Mike.
I mean, that's how people feel. And it's not about schadenfreude. It's not about being mean and horrible and ghastly to people who've got problems in their own personal lives. It's about payback. And for an awful lot of people who've been told that they've got to pay more council tax, they've got to pay more stamp duty, they've got to pay more income tax, they've got to pay more national insurance, for all of those people, this is payback time. Because this is a woman who clearly thought that the tax rises didn't apply to her. And it's all very murky, and as we've said throughout the show so far, it could well be that this is not the end of it. If she resigns, there might be more investigations into her, at the very least, complicated financial arrangements. It's all very murky. 0344 499 1000 is the number. Lots of other stories going on, including, of course, up at the Reform, Nadine Dorries has defected from the Tory party, saying basically the Tory party is now dead. You might as well bury it. And I've gone to join Reform. She would have said that maybe a few months ago. The last time I spoke to her, she wasn't quite ready to make that leap. But now she has. We're going to talk to Kate Ferguson, as I say, political editor at The Sun on Sunday. She's at the Reform conference, which kicks off later on today in Birmingham. There's some suggestion that Angela Rayner, in a final act of kind of, dereliction of everybody else in the world of politics, she's going to announce her resignation just before 4 o'clock, before Nigel Farage gets up to make his speech at that conference. We shall see. Jeremy Kyle, of course, is going to be leading the fray up there. You'll be hearing from him later on today. David Bull, of course, formerly of this parish, now the chairman of Reform, is going to kick it all off at midday. It's going to be fascinating stuff. The first real proper conference that they've had, because last year's was just a bit rushed and a bit put together. So here we are. It's the Morning Glory Day, because we're waiting very patiently for the resignation speech to come down the pipe. It could happen any time. My best guess is around about lunchtime is when you should expect it. This is Morning Glory. Let's get it on. This is good. Mark in Addleston says this: the mortgage companies will advise on stamp duty based on what they are told. We used the solicitor to add my partner to our mortgage. The solicitor never mentioned stamp duty, just the legal aspects of the deeds, etc. Only when we actually had to go through the application process did we find out that additional stamp duty was then applicable. It was a big surprise to us, but we had to pay it. And Ian says this: morning, Mike. Do we know who is paying the bills for all these law firms that Ms. Rayner has instructed? Well, hopefully she is, but I'd like to check her expenses to make sure she's not claiming it back from the taxpayer. Let's talk to Kate Ferguson up at Birmingham and the Reform conference. Kate, very good morning to you.
Hi, Mike. Nice to see you.
Yeah, I wouldn't have thought that after we spoke yesterday that it would have got worse for Angela Rayner, but it's all kind of disappearing down the gurgler quicker than you can say resignation, isn't it? You know, the law firm has come out and said, we didn't give her any tax advice. So if she thinks it was wrong, it's wrong.
It's a blistering statement from that law firm. This was always, I think, where the issue was going to come down to. If she had got this advice, did she fully disclose all of her financial affairs? You can only get the tax advice, the legal advice on the basis of what you've told them.
Right.
And they have been very clear last night that they weren't told about the trust, about the intricacies of her financial arrangements, and therefore they gave the kind of very basic online calculator number. But we now know, don't we, that Angela Rayner's affairs are much more complicated than that. So yeah, this is a savage statement for Raina, and it does look increasingly difficult to see how she survives this.
Exactly. And when you read the statement that they've given, when they say basically things like, you know, the stamp duty for the Hove flat, as you say, was calculated using HMRC's own online calculator based on the figures and the information provided by Ms. Rayner. That's what we used, and it told us we had to pay $30,000 based on the information provided to us. She's practically saying, is she not, that maybe she didn't give us all the information?
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly what they're saying. And, you know, they've got their own reputation, business reputation to defend. Yeah, so I'm not surprised they've come out quite scrappily and quite clear about that. I mean, this is a little high street firm, you know, run by the same family. There's a mother and two daughters. It's a little kind of blink and you miss it practice on the high street. This is not your kind of big, complex, legal, sophisticated practice. So, you know, they will do what based on what the information that Raina has told them.
Right.
So politically as well, I do think that it's getting increasingly difficult. We're all sort of here refreshing our email, our WhatsApps to see if there's any sign that a statement's going to be coming from Downing Street.
Well, I see that Douglas Alexander's been put out to kind of, you know, do the rounds this morning, and he's slightly changed the message, hasn't he? He's not saying, you know, we stand by Angela Rayner, you know, she hasn't done anything wrong, she's made a mistake, which is what they were saying yesterday. Today they're saying, let's wait until all the facts are gathered by the ethics commissioner, and let's see when he provides those facts to Keir Starmer what then happens, but we have to wait for the facts, which is quite a subtle move, but it's an important one.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. Their messaging's totally changed. So we kicked off the week with these kind of sexist, classist briefings against her, standing by our woman, to try to keep their powder dry. Can't prejudge the facts. It's not Guy anymore. The ethics advisor will report back any day now. So, you know, that is important. That suggests that they are concerned about the findings.
No, quite. And I mean, you're up at Birmingham for the Reform Conference, which gets underway today. I'm told there's a few concerns that Angela might, in her sort of final last-ditch, you know, screw-up of reform, announce that she's resigning just before Nigel Farage speaks at 4 o'clock.
Yeah, Farage's big speak at 4 p.m. Gosh, who knows? I mean, how mean of that would be of her. I suspect she may just want to get this out of the way with a bit earlier if the writing's on the wall. It's also once the report's in situations like this, obviously people have sight of it quite quickly, and you kind of can't really stop the dam bursting. It will leak if you don't put it out.
Right.
So I think we could see things move quite swiftly today. But yeah, up at Birmingham today, lots of the lobby here in Birmingham. Excited to see Nigel's kind of big speech. He's got a interview in one of the newspapers today talking about how they're preparing for government. So they're obviously feeling quite confident on the reform measures.
Well, I mean, this is the first proper big conference, really, because last year they didn't quite manage it, did they? They sort of, you know, but they're now such a serious party that they have to be taken seriously by the likes of you and the rest of the people in the lobby. And I mean, also big boost for them getting Nadine Dorries over.
Yes, this is the big defection. We were expecting a defection. We were wondering who it would be, because in the conference catalogue it says Nigel Farage is going to be introduced by a special guest. Some were wondering if it might be Jacob Rees-Mogg, who's on defection watch. It's Nadine Dorries. I mean, I think this is a good scout for them, really. She was obviously a very high-profile Conservative, very close to Boris Johnson.
Yeah.
I think it's her closeness to Boris Johnson that some people in the Conservative Party ranks are most concerned about.
Yeah, because we were hearing from somebody at the New Statesman on the news today who said, you know, this surely is now a message that Boris isn't coming back to the Tory party, and she's basically said the Tory party's dead and finished.
Yeah, exactly. So people have... Whenever Boris is off the scene, the question immediately becomes, when might he return?
Yeah.
And I think it was about 4 or 5 months ago, there really were rumours flying around that not so much that Boris was properly contemplating it, but a lot of his former aides, his former allies, were trying to get the old gang back together and see if they could persuade him out of retirement, as it were. But clearly Nadine going over to reform suggests that she doesn't think that's on the cards at any point in this parliamentary term. So that tells you a lot about the Conservative Party, as well as about the confidence of reform, that they're able to get people over and keep building their ranks. And that is important for reform because while they will very much want to be their own beast, their own political party, they don't want to be the Tories 2019 2.0, but they do need to build a kind of infrastructure, have people around advising them that have some experience of government. You've got the Scottish elections, the Welsh elections, all before the general election. So they do need to kind of build up that political experience and base that maybe they've been lacking.
Yeah. It's going to be a fascinating weekend, I think, for all sorts of reasons. I'm coming up later on, so I shall see you perhaps somewhere for a glass of something fizzy.
Lovely, sounds very nice.
Great to see you, Kate Ferguson. Thank you very much indeed. Political editor at The Sun on Sunday up there at the Reform Conference in Birmingham. You'll be hearing from Jeremy Kyle, who's up there later on, and of course myself later on tonight at some point. Just before we talk to John Rentoul, let us play a little clip for you, because this is Rachel Reeves. It's got to be played out, this, because it's quite remarkable. Rachel Reeves, the Chancellor of the Exchequer, talking about her good friend Angela Rayner yesterday.
Yes, I have full confidence in Angela Rayner. She's a good friend and a colleague. She has accepted the right stamp duty wasn't paid. That was an error. That was a mistake. She is working hard now to rectify that, in contact with HMRC to make sure that the correct tax is paid. Anyone that saw Angela's statement yesterday, saw her interview yesterday, I think we'll have a lot of sympathy with some of the challenging family circumstances around this, around Angela's disabled.
So that's all right then, according to the Chancellor of the Exchequer. If you've got some challenging family situations, you know, like your kids have spent all your money, you don't have to pay any tax, because it's just a mistake. It's easily done. Let's talk to John Rentoul, see what he makes of it all after this.
I mean, it is absolutely jaw-dropping, isn't it? I wouldn't have put that on X or any other social media platform, not because I think it's that outrageous. It isn't that outrageous, just because I know how pathetic everything has become now. And I would know that if I posted something like that, there'll be half a dozen people who've got nowhere near enough to do trying to get me arrested by the police. And that is exactly, of course, what's happened to him.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back to Morning Glory. I'm Mike Graham. It's coming up to 20 minutes past 8. John Rentoul's here. We're going to speak to him in a moment, Chief Political Commentator at The Independent. Let's get a voice note first from Shirley.
Hello, morning. This is Shirley from West Sussex. I just want to say, how do these people, they lie and lie and lie again, this Labour government? Do they think we're so stupid? Do they treat us with such contempt? We can't see through them.
It's a valid point, I'm afraid. I mean, it certainly looks as though the story that Angela Rayner was peddling for the last couple of days about getting the wrong tax advice is entirely and utterly untrue, according to the people who were dealing with her mortgage application, who are suggesting, it seems to me, that she didn't tell them the full story about the trust, about the money, about everything. Let's ask John what he makes of it. John, very good morning to you.
Good morning, Mike.
I mean, this is possibly the biggest mess that they've managed to make for themselves for no apparent reason. I mean, it's all a bit needless, but I'm afraid it looks as though Angela Rayner's a goner, isn't she?
It is beginning to look like that. I think she could have got away with it if she had made an honest mistake and if she had done everything she could to make sure that she'd taken the right advice and done everything properly. But she seems to have been, to put it at its best, she seems to have been careless or reckless in finding out what the tax position was. And I think the independent advisor on ministerial interests will find against her.
And one of the questions that the Sun was suggesting to be put to her was, if the ethics advisor does find against her, will she resign? And that, I suppose, becomes the story, doesn't it? And the question of when rather than if. And I think it's going to happen today.
It may do. But I think if there is a clear finding against her, then she will have to resign, and she should resign as Deputy Prime Minister and Housing Secretary. She probably won't resign as Labour Deputy Leader.
Yes. Where does that leave everything? It means she loses the Grace and Favour mansion, presumably in Admiralty Gate.
Yeah, no, she'll have to find a.
Be down to 2 homes only. I mean, how's she going to cope? But it does. The trouble is,
moved back in with Rebecca Long Bailey. They used to share a flat in London.
Oh crikey! Imagine having them for neighbours. You know, the problem is though, you'd think she would be smart enough, or she would be advised better than to come out yesterday and say, "I was given the wrong tax advice," only to then be contradicted in all the papers this morning by the person that she's accused of giving her the wrong advice.
Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of the killer blow, isn't it?
She hasn't handled it well. Well, no, I think the really damning thing was that she knew that there was a question mark over whether she had paid the right amount of tax, and yet she still allowed ministerial colleagues and including the Prime Minister to go out and defend her. And I think I don't think they will be too pleased about that.
No. And see, do you think that, so if she remains as deputy leader of the Labour Party, because I understand she can't really sort of resign from that, as far as I'm aware.
Well, no,
she can't be sacked from it. She can't be sacked from it.
Exactly.
Where does that leave her in the pecking order then?
Well, I mean, she'd be deputy leader of the Labour Party, but on the back benches.
Right.
So that'd be a rather unusual position. But there's nothing. I mean, it would be in order to avoid. I mean, the last thing the Labour Party needs at the moment is a deputy leadership election,
right,
in which 2 candidates take lumps out of each other in front of a party membership who really don't like Keir Starmer. and would like to see Andy Burnham as minister instead. I mean, it's an extraordinary position to be in.
It really is. And I mean, this leaves him in very exposed as well, doesn't it? Because if she's on the back benches and she's had to go, and she, for right or wrong, she may blame him for not protecting her better or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Although I think that you could overdo that. I think that the idea that she'd be a great threat on the back benches is overdone. I don't think Labour MPs will be particularly impressed by her behaviour. And so, although she is, she has been very popular with party members and with MPs, and actually, one of the party's better communicators with the public. I mean, she comes across she came across, shall we say, as an authentic.
Yes. But that's all fallen by the wayside, because it would appear that.
So I don't think she's a threat on the backbenches, but I think it means that Keir Starmer's lost an authentic voice at the top of his government, and he just looks as if his government is just the same as the Tories, mired in sleaze and with ethics difficulties.
Right, and he can't now have anyone that can communicate with the left on the backbenches either.
No, I'm just trying to rack my brains as to who else in the cabinet could do that job, and there's nobody who could do it as effectively as Angela Rayner. I mean, she helped sort out that rebellion over welfare benefit, and I don't know that Keir Starmer's got anybody else who can do that.
No. So I mean, he looks increasingly isolated now, doesn't he? Because I mean, if his next best sort of female voice is Rachel Reeves, she's already in trouble. Bridget Phillipson, who is generally hated, I think, by most people on the basis that she's just terribly kind of, I don't know, fundamentalist, it seems, and terribly kind of cold about everything. She doesn't exude warmth. I mean, none of them do. That's the problem.
She does come across with as a slogan-generating machine.
She's kind of Lady Macbeth figure.
Absolutely right. No, well, I mean, people are. I mean, there are some wonderful conspiracies on social media about how this is all designed to distract attention from Nigel Farage's conference in Birmingham today. But I mean, Nigel Farage must be, skipping on his way.
Oh yeah. Well, people are telling me this morning that Angela Rayner's final act will be to resign at 5 minutes to 4, shortly before he makes his speech. And if she did, he would be delighted.
It's such a gift, I mean, especially because the other thing that Angela Rayner is particularly useful to the Labour Party is for appealing to the kind of voters who've gone over to reform. She has a sort of northern working class credibility that reform is hoovering up those votes. And she was one of the Labour Party's best assets in fighting that.
Yeah. And what about the Corbynista front, which is developing on the left, the further left, I guess, of Starmer's party?
But developing is an interesting word. I mean, fighting it out like.
Given that they haven't yet come up with a name that they can all agree on, and given
they haven't come up with a name, and
they keep fighting about everything, but they're polling quite high though. They're polling like half the value of Labour.
No,
and you love a poll.
I do love polls, and the extraordinary thing is with the Green Party as well. They've elected someone with the same politics as Zara Sultana and Jeremy Corbyn, and yet people. The voters still think that the Green Party is sort of some kind of nice, cuddly, environmental outfit, and it's extremely popular as well. And if that Red-Green alliance can get its act together, then I think there will be a serious threat to the Labour Party. But they're doing their best to stymie that.
Yeah, and as far as reform goes, I mean, I think it's a relatively small number of people in reform who don't like it, but there's always a bit of sort of background noise whenever a senior Tory kind of defects to them. They go, why do we want them? We don't want them. But Nadine Dorries defecting to them is quite a big deal, isn't it?
Well, it is, but you could see. I mean, I could see why some people in reform might think it better not to take her. I mean, it's like Nigel Farage having to fend off Liz Truss, who clearly at one point was trying to negotiate her way to.
I had her in here yesterday, and I asked her about reform, and she said that she's trying to stay out of politics at the moment, which I thought was quite funny coming from her.
That's very good. That is very good. But, I mean, Nadine Dorries obviously isn't going to be playing a leading role, I don't think.
No.
But it does. the fact that she was such a big supporter of Boris Johnson, I think
that's what people are pointing to, isn't it?
Is a useful asset to reform. I mean, Nigel Farage is having the time of his life and is doing extremely well. Although I think he's slightly overreached with himself with suggesting that the Labour government's going to fall by 2027.
Well, he's finally agreeing with me. I mean, I've been saying this since last summer.
Oh, right. Well, we'll
so
have me back. Have me back in.
I'm always right, John.
Time,
I'm always right, and you just have to admit it. And what about the whole situation with Boris? Because I mean, perhaps, as ever with the conversations around Nadine Dorries, she's the sort of pilot fish, and then suddenly Boris Johnson will appear at a Reform conference and go, "Yeah, I'm joining him as well."
No, I mean, Boris Johnson's far too proud to do that. I mean, he would have to be the biggest fish in whatever outfit he was in. I don't think he would. I don't think he would do that. I mean, and also you got to remember he's sort of pro windmills and
immigration.
Pro-immigration,
yeah,
and all the rest
I
of it.
mean, listen, I think Reform voters would reject him, because most of them who talk to me I think that he sort of betrayed the Tory cause and had a great opportunity in 2019 to do something brilliant and then didn't do it.
He is the cause of Reform's huge success.
Yeah.
I mean, it was his betrayal of the Tory immigration promises that has given Reform such a boost. So the idea that he would be welcome in Reform is just for the birds.
True. Fascinating times, though. Anyway, it makes life a bit interesting, doesn't it? Good to see you, John. Thank you very much indeed. John Rensell, chief political commentator at The Independent. Let's get a voice note from Mikey.
Hello, Mikey from Liverpool. I just wanted to comment on all this working class nonsense people keep spouting about Angela Rayner. The working class Labour doesn't exist anymore, and it's been shown, hasn't it? I mean, look what happened with the house in Manchester, and now she's moving to Brighton. It's really working class, isn't it? Listen, there's no one's more working class than anybody else. It is what it is, you know what I mean? But the fact that Keir Starmer's going to go, she's working class, she's a woman, she's this, so what? No one cares. All we want is a government that can run the country correctly, properly, without sort of feathering their own caps, getting people to buy suits for them. I mean, what's going on with these people? It's absolutely pathetic.
Great point, Mikey. Absolutely spot on. They are pathetic because they're posers and they're pretending to be something they're not. They're also pretending to be honest, which they aren't, and they're pretending to be fair-minded, which they're not, and they're pretending to care about the British working people, which they don't. Apart from that, it's all going really, really well. Still on Angela Rayner Resignation watch. Time is 8:31.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back to Morning Glory. It's 8:33. Andy in Essex says this could very well be the Labour House of Cards. Rayner goes, Reeves' position will collapse after what will be a disastrous and late budget, and Starmer, with no support via Rayner on the far left of the party, will also topple. I'll bet you a fizzy drink it'll all happen before Christmas. Well, listen, I've been saying this for a long time, and Nigel Farage is now saying it. Get ready for an election in 2027. Or possibly even earlier than that, because this government, I can tell you this, is about the worst thing I've ever seen. And I've seen some pretty bad things in my life, I can tell you. But this government is about as useless as anything that I've ever seen. You know, more useless than Gerald Ratner's jewellery company, more useless than what British Rail used to be like under nationalisation, more useless even than Gordon Brown was as Prime Minister. They are completely clueless. And Angela Rayner's gone before the end of the day, I'm sure of it. Let's talk to Sarah Pochin, who's MP up in Runcorn and Helsby, of course, for Reform UK. She's also at Reform's conference, which is getting underway this morning up in Birmingham. I'll be going up there a little bit later on. Very good morning to you, Sarah.
Good morning, Mike. Good morning. We look forward to seeing you here later on.
Yes, I mean, it's a long day ahead for you guys. It's looking splendid. How's the mood?
Do you know what? The atmosphere is incredible here. I mean, it's absolutely staggering that for such a small group of people that we have here doing this, we've pulled it off. It's going to be the most amazing conference. 6,000 tickets sold, and the atmosphere is really building. So get up here, Mike, as soon as you can.
I'm going to do it as soon as I can. I've got to go home for some more sleep before I do that, though. But so we've got lots to talk about. Nigel Farage's speech coming up. Angela Rayner probably going to resign.
Yep.
Possibly before that. I'm betting it's going to be around about lunchtime, because I don't see any way out of this for her. Do you?
No, absolutely no way whatsoever. And I think one of the things that the British people get really, really fed up about is the sheer hypocrisy that we're now seeing from somebody like Angela Rayner, who has, let's face it, been so visceral, been so vile in you know, the words she uses in Parliament about other politicians. We all know her rhetoric, and yet here we are watching a Labour politician with her three houses being completely unclear about where she pays council tax, which one's a second home, which one's a first home, and now we've had all this about her son's trust fund. It's all very unsavoury, Mike. She's got to go.
Yeah, I think so. And this morning, Keir Starmer, he always puts out a tweet around about 8 o'clock. His first tweet's gone out today, 8:02. And you'd think the guy was living in some kind of parallel universe. He says this, right? I promised that our defence industry would be the engine for national renewal. More than 1,700 new jobs are being created in the sector as we've secured unprecedented foreign investment. That's my plan for change in action, driving growth and opportunity for working people. I mean, it's like, does he not realise that all anybody's talking about is the fact that his Deputy Prime Minister is finished?
Look, you know, I mean, he's surrounded, isn't he? He's got two women either side of him in these key positions, Rachel Reeves, Angela Rayner. Well, she's a Raver.
Raver's good. No, I'll go with that.
Car crash. An absolute car crash of two women either side of him. You know, they both need to go. But of course, the optics for Keir Starmer at the moment couldn't be worse. Absolute disaster. On the day that Reform here have got launching this huge conference with all the stuff and the exciting stuff that we're saying, the stuff that we're saying that British people want to hear. They want to hear a party that is standing up for them and putting the British people first. And that's exactly what you'll hear from Reform over the next 2 days.
And nobody else is really selling that particular message, you know. Big story on the front pages this morning as well about Nadine Dorries quitting the Tories to join Reform.
Yes.
Seismic blow to the Tories. She says basically that the Tory party's finished. But what I think is interesting as well is the comment in the Daily Mail, which is this: a new politics is beginning. Everything we knew and accepted as normal is dissolving and crumbling. It's time for all the talents on the right to come together to sweep away this lamentable excuse for a government.
Well, you know what, I think that for me, what a privilege to be involved in politics at this time, Mike. It is a seismic change. I think we're going to see a change that we haven't seen for absolutely decades, if not hundreds of years. I mean, what's happening now with reform just proves the sheer frustration of the British people and the betrayal that they feel, both by the former Conservative government and by this current Labour government. What is going on in politics at the moment is seismic. It's hugely exciting, but it's also, it's desperately needed. People stop me up and down the country, everywhere I go, service stations, picking the takeaway up. It doesn't matter where I go, people stop me and say, keep going, we need you to get this country back on track.
And the thing is that, in other parties, there's all sorts of division, there's all kinds of different sort of realms of it. And, Reform are going to have to go through that process as well. A little bit has happened already, and some people have left and other people have joined. But, it's all part and parcel of the reality of politics, isn't it?
Of course it is, and at the end of the day, all eyes are on reform, and that's why people make such a big deal if we have a fallout or something. But the fact is the Tories want to see the end of reform, Labour want to see the end of the reform. Those two parties will be dreading the next 2 days. They'll be dreading what Reform have got to say and the messages that we're giving, because they know it's what the British people want to hear. We're under attack now from all sides, but you know what, Mike? Bring it on, because we speak with conviction. We speak with absolute belief that what we're doing is the right thing, and that people are behind us. And you'll be seeing, yes, OK, so Nadine Dorries has come over, and that's great. Anyone's welcome to join Reform, and we want everybody to join Reform. But more and more people up and down the country now are proud to say, do you know what? I voted Reform, or I'm going to vote Reform next time. People have had enough.
Yeah, and I think that breeds its own success, doesn't it? Because as more and more people kind of go for it, it becomes less of an outrageous thing to do.
Exactly.
So many people voted in local elections. There's more local elections coming in May, which are going to be huge.
Yeah, oh gosh, May's going to be huge for us, and so many more seats will fall, of course, as in council seats. We've got the Welsh elections coming up, which we're hoping to do extremely well in. We've got the Scottish elections coming up, as well as many other council seats up and down the country. And of course, Labour, I'm sure, would love to use their legislation to their powers to delay all of those elections, because of course they know Reform are going to do really, really well. But you're right, people are coming over to us because they listen to people like me, who is basically I know you say you're the voice of common sense, but I'd like to claim that title too, Mike. But the fact is that they listen to people like me, normal, grounded, hard-working people that have had a career in business, that have done a lot for the community, that understand what people need in their lives to live good, fulfilled, happy lives. And that's the difference. Reform politicians are real politicians. We're fearless, and we will stand up for the rights of the British people.
And any I know obviously you probably can't tell me what they are, but are there any surprises coming up this afternoon? Is Nigel's speech going to have any sort of secret details in it that we weren't expecting?
Well, listen, you've now asked me on live TV to tell the nation Nigel's secrets. I would imagine the only person that can sack me is probably Nigel, so I'm not going to be giving away his secrets. But the point is, yeah, of course, his speech is going to be incredible, because what Nigel does is he has an incredible knack of understanding exactly what needs to be done. He engages with people like he's one of those very rare politicians which totally reads the room and reacts accordingly. He has absolute conviction in what he's saying, so his speech will be, I'm sure, absolutely tremendous. I'm looking forward to it myself.
Yeah, and I've never known anybody be quite so busy as he is. I mean, he was just in America literally a few hours ago, and he's suddenly now back here. He's in his speech.
How amazing, I don't know if you saw the picture, but how amazing that we saw Nigel Farage standing alongside Donald Trump in the Oval Office. What Nigel is doing over there in America is absolutely everything he can to make sure that the special relationship that we have with America gets stronger and stronger every day. And we know that Nigel Farage, when he is in number 10, when he is our Prime Minister, that relationship with America will be stronger than it's ever been. been. I can't see Keir Starmer, can you, being invited over to the Oval Office to have a chat with Donald Trump. But Nigel was there for a very, very important reason. You know, this current government is trying to clamp down on free speech. It's trying to police what we say, what we think, what we debate. And through the online safety bill, which I've talked a lot about, it doesn't do what it says it's going to do. But the point is, Nigel is over there because a lot of the companies that clearly this ruling affects are American companies. And of course we should be talking to America about these issues. But Reform will always stand up for free speech. We will always stand up for democracy. And that's exactly what Nigel's doing over there in America. But of course he's back now, and yes, I don't know where he gets his energy from, Mike.
Yeah, I know. I wish you could bottle it and sell it. It'd be great. Sarah, I'll see you later on. Good to talk to you. Thank you very much indeed. Sarah Poachin MP for Runcorn and Helsby. They're up at Reform's conference, which is getting underway in about 3 or 4 hours, which is around about midday today. Will Angela Rayner resign before it happens? Will she resign during Nigel Farage's speech or before Nigel Farage's speech? Will she resign at 2 o'clock? You know, take your pick of any of those possible scenarios, because she's definitely going to resign today, I'm sure of it. I can't imagine her getting away with any more of this nonsense. People have had enough, and she's been exposed by her own legal advisors who said we did not give her the wrong tax advice, even though she said we did. Let's get a voice note from Andy.
Morning, Mike. It's Andy here in a cloudy Alicante this morning. Mike, there's 8 billion bicycles in Peking. No, there's 8 billion people in the world. And of those 8 billion, there's one that is best placed to get the most accurate legal advice and financial advice about buying a house in the UK. And that would be the housing minister. So I find it really difficult to believe that she was given bad advice if she gave those advising her the correct information. Good show as usual. Have a nice day.
Andy, thank you very much indeed. Very perspicacious point that, yeah. Why would she go to a sort of little-known, tiny high street company in a small town somewhere in Kent when she could have accessed possibly the best legal brains, supposedly? She could have asked Lord Hermer. You know, he must know a couple of lawyers that could have helped her out and given her better advice. But of course, the advice story turns out now not to be true, because it wasn't that she was given bad advice. It was that she perhaps was not entirely truthful about her situation. And that's very clearly what the statement from the people who gave her advice over this particular purchase say. They say, the stamp duty for the Hove flat was calculated using HMRC's own online calculator based on the figures and the information provided by Ms. Rayner. The figures and the information provided by Ms. Rayner. That's the important bit, because what they're saying is she didn't tell them the truth. She certainly didn't tell them the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. Why don't we have a look at the rap song that came out yesterday? This is a bit of AI for you, a bit of fun, because at 8:46 in the morning she still hasn't resigned, but let's entertain ourselves with this. It's brilliant. Absolutely fantastic. Morning, Mike, says Ivor. They're not wrong when they say a week's a long time in politics. On Monday, Starmer stood there with his rictus smile saying, we're embarking on phase 2 of our government with confidence. Should we have a look at that as well? Come on, let's have it.
Summer's definitely over, and this morning we've got all the number 10 staff together and talked through what phase 2 of the government is going to look like and feel like. So we go into phase 2, 1st of September 2025, in good spirits, confident and with conviction.
Yeah, I'll tell you what phase 2 is going to look like. A complete car crash. You're going to lose the Deputy Prime Minister because she's been telling a load of lies about how many houses she's been buying and some kind of trust fund for her son. Phase 2 of what? Phase 2 of the worst government ever. I would move straight to phase 4 if I were you, mate. And get on with it. They're not wrong when they say a week's a long time in politics. So we did that one. Morning, Mike. What a great day it could be watching this Labour Party collapsing, says Dan in North Staffordshire, twinned with North Korea. And how many did Rachel Thieves get in such a short clip? I think I counted 19. God help us if these morons stay in much longer. Should we play that one as well? Might as well. We got it?
Yes, I have full confidence in Angela Rayner. She's a good friend and a colleague. She has accepted the right stamp duty wasn't paid. That was an error. That was a mistake. She is working hard now to rectify that, in contact with HMRC to make sure that the correct tax is paid. Anyone that saw Angela's statement yesterday, saw her interview yesterday, I think we'll have a lot of sympathy with some of the challenging family circumstances around this, around Angela's disabled.
The challenging family circumstances in that there appears to be a trust fund which was paid hundreds of thousands of pounds into by the NHS Stockport NHS Trust. So, some of which she's apparently removed in order to put down on a flat in Hove, where she wants to live, not with her son. Challenging indeed. How about this? Why would Reform welcome Nadine Dorries, says this texter. A fanatic of Johnson, his net zero obsession, the vehement cheerleader of lockdowns, which largely put us where we are today, says Nick in Loughborough. Well, there will be people who don't like the Tories going over to Reform. We're going to talk in the next hour to Matt Vickers, MP, Deputy Chairman of the Conservative Party. And there's a lot of reason why people don't like it. I'm sure most people wouldn't want Boris Johnson to go and join Reform. But, you know, surely the point about what's going on right now with Reform and its conference is that they are picking up votes from all over the place. You know, they're picking them up from Labour, they're picking them up from the Lib Dems, they're picking them up from the Tories, they're picking them up from what used to be the Brexit Party. And I think people need to just be relatively broad church about it. And I don't think Nadine Dorries is suddenly going to change anything inside of Reform run by Nigel Farage. Is she? 10 minutes to 9.
across the UK. On DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back to Morning Glory. It's 8:54. I'm Mike Graham. Don't be surprised if Rayner gets away with this, says Dave in Swanley. Remember, Starmer regularly delivers unpopular news on a Friday. Keep up the good work. Dream Team earlier with Mike and Chloe. Dave in Swanley, I don't think she's getting away with it. I really don't. I think that is... I know you might have said that maybe 2 days ago, but not now. Not after the lawyers have come back and said, basically, we didn't give her the wrong advice because we just gave her advice based on what she told us, which would suggest that she didn't tell them everything she should have told them. It's really that simple. But right now, let's do 90 minutes in 90 seconds with The Sun.
90 minutes in 90 seconds.
From The Sun.
Martin Lipton is here, Chief Sports Reporter at The Sun. Martin, very good morning to you.
Good morning, Michael.
Very nice to see you. A bit of a shocker about Daniel Levy, unless I missed something. Was that an unexpected development?
I don't think anybody saw it coming, and I don't think Daniel Levy necessarily saw it coming either. But what it's clear is this is a massive moment for Tottenham Hotspur. Daniel's been there for 25 years. He was the architect of the best stadium in the country, the best training ground in the country, but also the architect of a club that didn't win enough as far as the fans were concerned. He was constantly accused of putting the bottom line above the principles of winning football matches, which is what most fans want, and they don't care about the debt issue. They just want the club to spend a lot of money. But I think also what is critical is that this perhaps, and I think does, open the door to the biggest club sale in world football history. Tottenham are worth, the Lewis family who own the club believe, upwards of £4 billion.
Right.
Now, if you remember, Manchester United actually, Ratcliffe paid about £2 billion for his part. Spurs would be on sale for that, and it was viewed by many that Levy was the blockage, the obstacle, the impediment to a sale, that he wanted to stay even if the club was sold. Well, if he's gone, then he can't stay. And I think this will definitely change the dynamic around Tottenham and its future.
Yeah, because a lot of Tottenham fans that I used to speak to would always say, you know, Daniel Levy just needs to spend some money. Why won't he spend any money? Why doesn't he just go and get a couple better players, you know? And that was always criticism, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, if you actually look, they did spend a lot of money. Unfortunately, they spent it on a lot of rubbish on a few occasions. The club record signing and Ndombele couldn't even last 45 minutes. He was a desperately bad signing, although he didn't look it at the time. Everyone was really thrilled when they got him. And they've also made some big sales, obviously, Gareth Bale and Harry Kane, both going for huge sums. So he's been a very astute businessman. No one would question his business instincts. He was always desperate to get the best possible deal for Tottenham. But football fans don't look at account sheets. They want to look at trophy counts. Yeah. And that's the difference. And Tottenham won 2 trophies in 25 years, a League Cup in 2008, and then somehow, against all odds, the Europa League in the summer.
Yeah.
The feeling amongst the vast majority of Spurs fans is that this is a great day. I think they're wrong in that, but I understand why they feel it.
Right. Does he pitch up somewhere else, do you think, or does he just go do some other business?
Well, he's 63. He's been earning £4 million a year for the last 10, 15 years. I don't think he really needs to work again. I think he's probably got more homes than Angela Rayner, in truth, so he's probably all right.
Yeah, probably. Mason Greenwood, possibly coming back to play for England.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a situation where Mason Greenwood believes the door is open. I think actually it's been slammed in his face 3 years ago and will never be reopened. But he's turned down having agreed to become a Jamaican citizen or Jamaican national because of his family background, and was due to play for them in World Cup qualifiers this week. He suddenly told Steve McLaren, the Jamaican manager, "Oh, sorry, I don't really want to do it yet." In the belief, we understand, that the England door may still be open. I think it would be impossible for the FA to allow him back in for a variety of reasons, even though, of course, all the charges against him were eventually dropped. I think the backlash and repercussions would be so huge that for me, it seems inconceivable.
Yeah, it's the wrong time.
Anything can happen.
I mean, anything can happen. England and Andorra, probably anything can't happen, can it?
Well, if England don't win by 5, we'd all be surprised. They'll win comfortably. Andorra are poor. Even if it's only at Villa Park rather than Wembley, there'll still be 45,000, 50,000. Absolutely incredible, actually, support that England get for any game. This should be 4 wins out of 4. The big test for them is on Tuesday when they go to Belgrade to play Serbia. win these 2 games this week, and they're really much over the line already, which is interesting given that Germany lost to Slovakia in their first game last night.
Right, amazing. We'll be watching with interest. Great to see you. Martin Lipton, thank you very much indeed, Chief Sports Writer at The Sun. That was 90 minutes in 90 seconds.
90 minutes in 90 seconds from The Sun.
Coming up in the next hour, Matt Vickers is going to join us. Also, Sir Anthony Selden, historian of Downing Street. This is going to be a big day for him. And John Mappin as well, the owner of Camelot Castle Hotel. He's going to talk to us. One here from Steve, who says, Mike, I'm now wondering which big union job Rayner will get after the inevitable resignation. Well, there are some who think she'll end up in the House of Lords. Who knows? But she hasn't gone yet. This is Talk.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back to Morning Glory. We're on resignation watch for Angela Rayner. It's coming up to 3 minutes past 9. We're into the final hour of the show already. I can't believe it. Absolutely extraordinary. Lots going on this morning, of course. Keir Starmer is talking about the defence industry. He says he's creating 1,700 new jobs. What's going on? It's certainly one new job that's going, and that would be Deputy Prime Minister, because she ain't going to be there for much longer. Also, you can fill another 3 jobs at the same time. You can have Minister for Housing herself. You can have Minister for Communities, that's another one, and also Minister for Levelling Up. So you can actually appoint 4 new people into Downing Street when Angela Rayner walks away. Brilliant. It's a job creation scheme, isn't it? Fantastic. The word is that she can't survive because this morning, I'm afraid, notwithstanding what she said yesterday, that basically she was given bad tax advice by the company that she hired to give her the tax advice, and the lawyers that she used to try and buy the place in Hove. They've come out and said basically, no, that's not true. We did not give her advice on stamp duty, and we did not do anything other than what she asked us to do, which was, given the information she provided us with, we went on the HMRC's own online calculator, and based on what she had told us, we said you're going to owe them about 30,000 quid instead of 70. We believe we did everything correctly and in good faith, says the woman who runs the company that is in question, Joanna Barrico. She's the managing director of quite a small, sort of what you might call boutique high street lawyers company. We are not an inexperienced firm, she says, but we are not qualified to give advice on trust and tax matters, and we advise clients to seek expert advice on these. So there's clear suggestions that Angela Rayner was at least economical with the truth and didn't tell them about the trust that was going on, and because if she had done, obviously they would have given her different advice and probably a different figure in terms of the stamp duty she would have to pay. So the whole situation gets murkier and murkier and murkier. And we're simply waiting now for the shoe to drop and for Angela Rayner to announce that she's resigning, or for Keir Starmer to accept her resignation. And indeed, he probably hasn't got the cojones to fire her, but it looks like the game is up for Angela Rayner, and she will have to go. 0344 499 1000. Also, we'll talk about Nadine Dorries. She's on the front pages this morning too. She's quit the Tories to join Reform just as their conference gets underway today in Birmingham, and she says basically the Tory party is dead. So I can put that to Matt Vickers, Deputy Chairman of the Conservative Party, who's coming up very shortly. Also Sir Anthony Selden, historian of Downing Street and political biographer. Lots more to do. Don't forget you can send us a voice note, 0344 499 1000. Also find us on talkTV on X, and 87222 if you want to send us a text message. Start the message with the word talk. I'm Mike Graham. This is, of course, the home of common sense. Let's get it on. Linda from Deal says, morning Mike, great show as always. I don't care about Angela Rayner, she'll get what's coming to her, but using her son and now putting him out there is absolutely disgusting. Well, one of the things that's come up this morning, which is interesting, is that basically she has apparently overvalued to quite a large extent the house that she borrowed the money from, or effectively took the money from, that her son lives in, right? Because apparently what basically is coming to light is that when she got the valuation on that house, it was valued at £650,000, which is almost twice the amount of other recently sold properties on the same street. And that was when she sold a stake to her disabled son's trust so she could buy a holiday home. She basically sold 25% share in the house in Ashton-under-Lyne to her son in exchange for 162,500 quid, which she then used as a deposit for the place in Hove. Now, according to Land Registry records, the valuation of her property at 650,000 in 2023 is substantially more than any other house that was sold in the area within recent times. An online valuing tool operated by Rightmove and based on official data put the value of the house at 565,000, which is almost £100,000 less. And obviously, if that had been the case, then the 25% stake wouldn't have been worth as much money. So again, so many different questions. According to the Telegraph piece, there have been 44 property sales on her street in the last 5 years, the most expensive of which was a 3-bedroom semi-detached home just down the road, which sold for £365,000 in 2021, £300,000 less than the value put on her home. So there's all kinds of questions to be asked and all kinds of jiggery-pokery going on. I don't think she can lie straight in bed, can she? Before we talk to Matt Vickers, though, let's have a look at some other gaffes. Here's Keir Starmer talking about flags on Monday.
I'm the leader of the Labour Party who puts the Union Jack on our Labour Party membership cards. I always sit in front of a Union Jack. I've been doing it for years, and it attracted a lot of comment when I started doing it. And in our flat, which is upstairs from here, as you know, we've got the St George's flag in our flat.
So you're encouraging people to put up more flags?
I'm very encouraging of flags. I think they're patriotic, and I think they're a great symbol of our nation. I don't think they should be devalued and belittled, and I think sometimes when they're used purely for divisive purposes, it actually devalues the flag. I don't want to see that. I'm proud of our flag. I sit in front of our flag, and I'm very, very proud to do so.
He's actually not sitting in front of a flag, though, is he? When he says, I always sit in front of a flag. This is how useless he is. You know, if you were advising somebody like him, you would say, look, Prime Minister, if you're going to say I always sit in front of a flag, or I always sit in front of a statue of, I don't know, Romeo and Juliet, or I always sit in front of an album cover by Pink Floyd, make sure it's behind you when you do it. Otherwise you look like an idiot, don't you? How about Yvette Cooper? Apparently she's got flags everywhere.
We actually have Union Jack bunting on our garden shed at the moment. I've got St George's flags, I've got St George's bunting, I've got the Yorkshire Rose bunting as well. I've got Union Jack flags and tablecloths. We've got the lot. I've even actually got some Yorkshire tea bunting, which is probably taking things a bit far.
It's some kind of nightmare around her gaff, isn't it? Can you imagine? And here's Ed Balls walking around wearing like a Pearly King's outfit with a load of flags on it. Hey, look at me. What's wrong with these people? She's also currently not sitting in front of a flag, not wearing any, you know, St George's cross earrings, which you could wear, not wearing a necklace with St George's bunting on it. I don't notice Ed Balls going to Good Morning Britain wearing a Union Jack tie, do you? He has to dress down for that. I don't know. Let's talk to Matt Vickers. This is getting ridiculous. Matt, very good morning to you.
All the bunting by...
You got a flag!
She's got Billy Bunting in the shed, apparently. She's on it. Bizarre.
But, absolutely. I mean, how can, you know, Keir Starmer, the Prime Minister of Great Britain and Northern Ireland, right, says, I always sit in front of a flag. He's not sitting in front of one.
Well, I mean, we all remember Lady Nugie's view on people who had flags.
Oh, yeah. She's not keen.
Story, you know, just
she's all right with the Palestinian flag. She doesn't like the British one.
Well, I mean, the thing that I find quite odd is Starmer talks about putting the Union Jack on the Labour Party membership card.
Yeah.
There is nothing less patriotic than having a Labour membership card when you see the damage that they're doing to this country.
Oh, my God.
Anyway, patriotic, who cares about the future of this country, should not have a Labour membership card.
I've been asking everyone that I've had on this morning, what time do you estimate that Angela Rayner will be resigning? What do you reckon?
Are you running a sweep? What's the prize?
I'm going to... Well, you can have lunch with me and I'll pay.
Oh, crikey. Right, I'm in. What time we on now? I reckon... I'll tell you when. It's going to be 11:30. Because isn't there a certain person speaking at 12, so she want to blow out the water? So I reckon...
No, I know, because Nigel Farage is not speaking until about 4, I don't think. So
OK, then it'd be 3:30.
OK. I'm going to go with 2 o'clock, because she doesn't want to be accused of being a spoilsport, but she still wants to mess with their schedule, I think.
I mean, the thing is, it's the hypocrisy, isn't it? It's the rank hypocrisy. I mean, the quotes that are coming out now of things that have been said, Starmer, any politician who seeks to avoid the taxes they owe in this country should not be in charge of taxpayers' money. Like, it's a fact.
That's his quote, isn't it? That's what Starmer said.
Yeah, she's in charge of housing. She's in charge of council tax. And it just rank hypocrisy. It's just not acceptable. It started to look like a hypocrisy story. Now it looks like a dishonesty story.
Yeah.
And that poor law firm taking the hit, oh, it was their fault, it was their fault. They've now come out this morning and said they never gave any tax advice.
Right.
People only advise you with the information you give them. Scapegoating a law firm like that is just completely...
But also, how stupid to accuse a law firm of doing something they didn't do. What do you think they're going to say? They're going to go, actually, no, we didn't do that.
Well, some of them will be polite and hesitate, won't they? So you can imagine in the law firm, do we come out and you have to when you're getting the blame for everything. We'll see what this report says, but I think it's time up for Anne.
I think so, absolutely right. I've got to ask you about Nadine Dorries. She's on the front of the Mail today saying the Tory party is dead and now she's going to go and join Reform.
So Nadine's a friend of mine. I'm not going to get into some sort of, bitch fest or whatever. The reality is she's made her decision. And
yeah, but is she right, though? Is the Tory party dead?
Other people will make their decisions about how surprising it was that, or not surprising, that Nadine went. That's for them to stay. But the Conservative Party can't be dead. This country needs the Conservative Party. Every time we get a Labour government, they leave office with more people out of work. Already,
but it's your fault we've got a Labour government because you made such a dog's breakfast of it all.
The people made their decision. We were out. We need to sort ourselves out. We need to make that offering because the economy needs us. This country needs the Conservative Party. Every time we have a Labour government, they trash the economy. They put people out of work. Inflation's nearly doubled. They told us they were going to take 300 quid off our energy bills. It's gone up nearly 200 quid. They said there wouldn't be a penny more to pay on council tax, and we all know what happened on that front. We've got Mrs. Housing.
I think they just meant there wouldn't be a penny more on Angela Rayner's council tax. I think that's what they meant to say.
Well, I mean, the reality is this woman who's in charge of housing is having a jolly swanny with the cash, whilst inheritance tax for farmers, we've seen what it's doing to those hard-working farmers out there. We've seen what it's going to do to the British countryside. Absolutely devastating consequences to this Labour government. And like every Labour government before it trashes the economy. The Conservatives have to come in and fix the mess. That's exactly what's going to have to happen again, because, you know, that other party that I'm not going to mention by name, they're promising more in terms of welfare. Actually, the biggest problem this country's got is its welfare bill has grown out of all control and continues to grow.
Yeah, but it grew a lot under you guys as well, though. It grew a hell of a lot. Under Conservative government, it grew massively, though.
And it's gone up, what is it? It's virtually doubled now. 3,000 people a day signing on to sickness and capacity benefits, virtually doubling under Labour. It's a horrendous situation. We need to get it under control. But the giveaway guy isn't the guy to do it. He's promising more today, more tomorrow, spend it where you like. The Conservatives will have to come in and fix the mess that Labour have made.
Well, you've got an awful lot of work to do.
The sooner that happens, the better.
You've got an awful lot of work to do. Matt Vickers, thank you very much indeed, Deputy Chairman of the Conservative Party, who is sitting in front of a flag, despite the fact he didn't say that he always sits in front of one, unlike Keir Starmer, who's not sitting in front of one. Let's talk to Sir Anthony Selden, historian of Downing Street and political biographer. Sir Anthony, very good morning to you.
Hello, Mike. Nice to be on.
Nice to see you. Have you ever seen such an awful government as this?
Well, it's difficult to see that taking Labour governments in the past have made such a poor start, Mike, and they seem to be making things worse. It's very unfortunate for the Prime Minister, if you are somebody who's a Labour supporter, to have a relaunch and to say we're now into phase 2, and a day or two after it to have a terrible thing happening for them like Angela Rayner. You couldn't make that up at all.
Right.
I mean, it's really desperate. Look, Mike, if you're if you're Prime Minister, these kind of things are really hard to handle. They are at the very top of the hate list of a Prime Minister. When you have a cabinet minister who gets embroiled in a scandal, and if it's your deputy, that's even worse. I mean, Blair had it with Mandelson twice, Cameron had it, Rishi Sunak, last Prime Minister, had it, and most of them think that they can just cling on, that they're not going to give in to the baying media. That will show that they're weak, and they cling on until they're forced to let the person go. So they then both lost the person, but they've also lost some of their political credibility too. And difficult though it is, and particularly with the record of Keir Starmer's own questions on his own integrity, you know, this doesn't have a good look, and probably historians will say that he could have acted more swiftly, or Angela Rayner herself could at least have stepped aside while this was being investigated.
Well, I think that's true, but also there hasn't really been any period since they got in July last year of sort of, you know, there wasn't even really a honeymoon period, because as soon as they got in, the Lord Alley stuff broke, that they'd been in the receipt of, you know, free clothes and glasses and then tickets to concerts and football matches and all the rest of it. So they've never really had any kind of period that you could describe as a success. And we're not just at the beginning anymore. We're now, you know, getting on for, you know, nearly a year and a half in.
Well, absolutely. He did look, the Prime Minister, Keir Starmer, did look good as a lawyer dealing with the riots. You remember in the summer of 2024. And
I don't know if everyone would agree with that. He looked like a man who wanted to crack down on some people and kill them all far-right thugs, and when clearly that wasn't true.
No, I take that point, Mike, but you know, he was generally seen by many people to have played that one quite well. But since then, a whole number of things have gone wrong. He doesn't seem to have the initiative, and if a Prime Minister doesn't put their stamp on government, then other people will write that script for them. And he's found it really hard to be the author of the slow horses script of Downing Street.
Yeah.
He's found it, you have to be in charge. As Prime Minister, you're either in charge, making the weather, steering the course of the ship, or other people are doing it.
Yeah.
And this latest episode, you know, even many people in Labour are just wincing at this. I mean, it's either incredibly bad luck or incredibly indecisive leadership.
I think it seems to me they don't have any strategy. You know, I mean, the first thing they did was appoint Sue Gray to be put in charge of the 100 days, the first 100 days of government, and she didn't even last 100 days. You know, she was gone after 93 days, and you think, well, that's not a great start, is it? And so they didn't have a plan.
Mike, as you talked before, the biggest single weakness of any prime minister, any leader, any football manager, whatever you're doing, is to come into office and say, look, no, I'm not certain I'm going to get the job. I'm going to hold off. I'm not going to get my people, my appointees sorted out. I'm not going to get my strategy sorted out. I'm going to wait and see. That's terrible. And he was unwilling to learn from history. And now it's much harder when you've lost the initiative. Like for any leader in any job, once you lose the initiative, you lose the confidence of your team and your public, it's really hard to get it back. But you put your finger on, absolutely, as the Prime Minister, he did not have a clear and the right plan, and he didn't put the best people. I mean, there are great people out there who he could be bringing in to strengthen him, and he's somehow reluctant on occasion, often perhaps, to appoint the really best people in the civil service and amongst his ministers, and indeed in Downing Street. So, I'm not saying it's over for him, but I'm just saying he's not making it easy for himself.
And if Angela Rayner does go today, which is looking increasingly likely, that's going to make it next week even worse. You know, next week he was going to have a reshuffle. The whole phase 2 thing came as a bit of a surprise to everybody. He didn't announce that he was going to have a phase 2. We didn't even know there was a phase 1. And it just seems that they lurch from one kind of crisis to another.
Well, that is absolutely what is happening. And he hasn't managed to put his stamp. I mean, to some extent, like great leaders make their own luck.
Yeah.
And he has not been, I mean, to have this happening just after the announcing of phase 2 and everything was going to be up from now onwards, and to have this huge scandal, is that bad luck or is that bad judgment? He could perhaps have anticipated it much more clearly. I mean, leaders have to lead, they have to tell the story. They have to say, this is where we're going, and you have to get people behind you. That means you're going to anger some people, but above all on the economy, as we just heard the Deputy Chair saying, if the Prime Minister, they are First Lord of the Treasury, if they can't have confidence in their management of the economy, then everything else goes wrong.
Yeah. And that's exactly what's happened. And let's face it, Angela Rayner's not the first cabinet member who's going to have to go, because he's already lost his Transport Secretary of State, he lost his corruption minister, he lost his homeless minister for making people homeless. I mean, the hits just keep on coming. You're kind of going, what's going to happen next? So Rachel Reeves has made a complete dog's breakfast of the economy, and she's now going to have the world's latest budget on November the 26th, which isn't going to have any good news in it, and isn't going to help him either.
Well, we hear a lot about the fact he's a strong man. He can be really heartless in his sackings. The best Labour prime ministers, like the post-war Prime Minister Clement Attlee, but they were ruthless, and they just got rid of people early on. They didn't wait. And prime ministers have to be ruthless in appointing and in sacking and in saying, this is where we're going to go. There's no ifs and buts, no excuses. This is the direction for the country. And that is what he hasn't yet done.
And that, I don't think he's
clearly enough.
No, I don't think so. And I don't see any signs of him really doing it. Sir Anthony, good to talk to you. Thank you very much indeed. Sir Anthony Selden, historian of Downing Street and a political biographer, probably being slightly more generous to Keir Starmer than I would be. This is from Ellie in Gosport. Mike, great to have you back in Blighty. I just wanted to say phase 2's going swimmingly well, isn't it? Yes. And Dave says, what is John Rentoul talking about? It looks like Starmer's party is as bad as the Tories, mired in sleaze, etc. We all know from day one that Starmer's Labour Party was as bad and probably worse than the Tories, mired in sleaze, hypocrisy and lies. And that was just the start. It's got a lot worse, isn't it? Absolutely extraordinary. Mike, that is the first time I've seen John Rentoul agree with you. Actually agrees with me quite a lot. It's just on some things he's got a bit of a blind spot, like Tony Blair. Peter in Hailsham says, she has got to go now. Who the hell is in charge when Never Hear Keir goes another jolly, or God forbid fails to return from one? Yeah, well, that's a good question. I don't know, because Angela Rayner would also do Prime Minister's questions when he's away, right? But obviously she won't be doing it anymore, so I don't know who's going to... Can you imagine old or Rachel Reeves staring at the floor? That's just ridiculous. Should we have another gaffe? Here's one from Jeremy Kyle.
And if you look at some of the implementations of nanny state and IDs, the Tories were knee-deep in this.
Yep.
Anyway...
Sorry, what's that? Sorry, what is that?
Sorry.
What is that noise? Trigger warning! That sounded like a toy of some sort. I'm slightly worried.
In the background. Apologies, I moved out of the way.
What was that? Crikey. There's a chainsaw going off in the background. Let's get a voice note from Justin.
Justin from Halifax. It looks like our Angela is about to get some Starmer karma coming right her way. Isn't it absolutely joyous on this beautiful northern morning? Anyway, Mike, have a great weekend, my friend. From working class Justin in Halifax.
How many houses you got, Justin? You know, got any trust funds anywhere knocking about? Working class hero. This, of course, is Morning Glory.
Ministerial code, but with serious breaches.
So it's not a serious breach to bully civil servants. It's not a serious breach to bully civil servants. It was serious enough that the independent ministerial advisor at the time resigned as a result of Boris Johnson not sacking Priti Patel. But you're saying it's different, so therefore it's fine.
It was clear that that there was inadvertent behaviour that might have been perceived, and obviously
she was found by the report to have been a bully.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back to Morning Glory, 9:28. I'm Mike Graham. So where will working class Angela find 40,000 quid to pay the tax? It's a very good question from Paul. And Dave in South Gloucestershire says, I'm loath to contradict you, but this Labour government are not important people in important jobs. They're a bunch of non-entities who have managed to get themselves into important jobs which they are incapable of doing. I think that's he's writing about something I said a bit earlier in the show when Rachel Reeves is stuttering and mumbling and staring at the floor and trying to make out that she's in great support of her friend and colleague Angela Rayner. She's in an important job, you know. It's not about whether she's capable of doing it, but she is in an important job. She's Chancellor of the Exchequer. It's the most important financial job in the country. She's in charge of stewarding the economy, and she can't bleeding well add up. It's that simple. Should we get a voice note from Chris?
How are you doing, Mike? It's Chris. It's been a while since I've sent in a voice note, but I just had a thought there. Obviously, look, I'm delighted that, you know, Angela Rayner has been so stupid and, you know, been an absolute donkey clown, decided to, try the whole victim mentality card and all that crap. But, yeah, no, I had a thought. I'm sure she was trying to bring in a rule where mayors couldn't, you know, run to be heads of Labour. Now, I know Sadiq Khan was looking to, you know, possibly weasel his way in. Now, not in a bad way. Who would you rather have? It's like who's the bigger evil, you know, like in that scenario? Because Jesus Christ, I don't know if I'd want Sadiq Khan in there, Mike. But great show as always. But yeah, Labour, bunch of donkeys, man.
Chris, very good bunch of donkeys. True. Yeah, she was apparently responsible for trying to sort of somehow row out the possibility that Sadiq Khan or indeed Andy Burnham could actually get into to the position of running for Prime Minister if Keir Starmer took a fall, because presumably she wanted to protect her own position because she thought, you know, if Starmer falls, I'm going to be next in line. Well, she's blown that, hasn't she? For heaven's sake. Now, the other big story that we're talking about this morning, apart from Angela Rayner and the resignation watch that we've got on at the moment, it's 9:30. She's going to have to get a move on if she's going to resign before the end of this show. But I'm betting it'll be about 2 o'clock. The other story is the migrant who sparked the Epping Bell Hotel protest faces jail because he was convicted yesterday of sexually assaulting a girl of 14. Hadush Kibatu is his name. He's from Ethiopia. He's 41 years of age and he's been told to expect a custodial sentence. Here's the moment when police arrested him.
Just come and step
that in there for me, sir.
Okay, she is right.
Give me 1 second, I'll call you back.
She is right. The phone
put
number.
that in there. The lady in blue.
Yes, the lady. Yeah.
He thinks it's
She's
the lady.
drinking, and I pass. Please call me. You are black man. You are coming, man. You are coming my home.
She's a child.
Yeah.
She's
coming my
So the allegation is that you've touched a child on the inside of the groin.
I am a teacher.
Come over here. I need to search you. Don't cry. It's going to be okay. Come step onto the pavement. So I've got a little bit more. Bit more room. You can leave your shoes on. It's okay. Step onto the pavement here. No. Stand up. Stand up. There we go. And then towards me.
He's very sorry for himself, isn't he? Ethiopian national was arrested and denied in court 2 sexual assaults, attempted sexual assaults, inciting a child to engage in sexual activity and harassment, right? But District Judge Christopher Williams yesterday found Kibatu guilty of all 5 offences which took place on July the 7th and July the 8th. It was basically after just 9 days after arriving in Britain illegally on a dinghy, right? The child said in an interview, he kept asking to come back with us or trying to get us to go back to the Bell Hotel with him. He pointed at me first and he said, I want 1 baby from you and 1 from each of your friends. He told us that as well that in his country it is normal to marry 14-year-olds. The next day, he came and sat next to us again and said, I want a baby from you. We could make lovely Jamaican babies. I kept telling him my age over and over again. He just wasn't getting into his head. He kept staring at me and giggling, just doing a weird little smile. He kept leaning in and pouting his lips at me. A 14-year-old girl. And this guy is exactly why all of the anti-migrant protests have been going on in Epping since it was found out that he was arrested. And that's why. Because they don't want predators in Epping. They don't want people from Ethiopia targeting 14-year-old local girls. And who would, quite frankly? Mike, my prediction, says John in Lincolnshire, is she'll resign. Starmer will make Reeves his deputy and appoint a new Chancellor, solving 2 problems for him at once. Yeah, but the problem is that everyone tells me that apart from Rachel Reeves, there isn't really anyone else qualified to be Chancellor. Although I suppose you could give it to that bloke Darren Jones, couldn't he? Who was just made, chief economic advisor to the Prime Minister. Maybe he'll do that. He's useless as well, though. Hopeless. 9:33.
Across the UK, on DAB, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back to Morning Glory, 9:36. Plank of the Week coming out later on tonight, of course, at 7 o'clock. I'm heading up to the Reform Party conference. Jeremy Kyle is going to be there too. He and I will be talking to Samara Gill on her show tonight between 7 and 10. And also, I've got to tell you, Jeremy Kyle and I are doing a big show, a big live show at Shepherd's Bush Empire on November the 15th, Saturday, November the 15th. All the tickets are practically gone, but there's a few left. And they're in a rather special place, so I just want you to go and check it out. I've just tweeted out the Ticketmaster link, so if you want to go and find just a few more last-minute tickets, because you don't want to miss this show, I tell you what, it's going to be brilliant. So get yourself along to Ticketmaster and get yourself a ticket, or two, or five. There's only a few dozen left, I think, so you need to get on it quick, because they're going to go like hot cakes, I can tell you that. 0344 499 1000 is the number. One from Zarina, who says, the bottom line here is Raina has abused her power of trust because of greed. Nothing else seems to have mattered, certainly not the people of our country. I've never been so poor despite my work, and I could claim benefits, but I don't. And Dave says, morning Mike, will Raina now defect to the Tories? Then she can claim to be the Tory scum, says Dave in Aberdeen. Yeah, I don't think so. I think she's going to be probably trying to get herself back into either a situation in the House of Lords or maybe get herself a powerful position in one of the subcommittees of Parliament. Let's talk to Paul Burke, who's a commentator at The Spectator. Paul, very good morning to you.
Hello, Mike. Nice to see you.
Nice to see you too. I've been on a sort of Rayner resignation watch this morning, and I didn't think she would do it before. When I used to have my mid-morning show, everyone used to resign between 10 and 1. So I'm betting it'll be around about 2 o'clock this afternoon, but I don't think there's any doubt she's going, is there?
I wouldn't have thought so. I think her position's untenable.
Yeah.
It's just, whichever way you look at it. I mean, you can insult her personally and sort of denigrate her, as I did, but even if she was given the wrong advice, she's, we all get advice from people, and sometimes we think, yeah, I'll do that, or no, I won't. For the Deputy Prime Minister, somebody in that senior a role, to take advice that was bad brings her judgment into question.
But well, it does. But also, the people that she says gave her the wrong advice have said they didn't do it.
They didn't do it. So the other thing you have to wonder is, did she declare everything? Did she tell them everything? Because, you know, if you've been done for drink and driving, and then you get your insurance and you don't tell them that, right, they can't be blamed for giving you the advice that the premium will cost this much.
Right.
So it's just all wrong. But the thing is with her is, I can't believe anyone couldn't see it.
No.
Look at her. I mean, just the way she behaves, the way she comports herself.
Right.
She was on the other night, and she said, I thought I'd done it all proper.
Right.
And you go, really?
Yeah. But that's the other thing, is what kind of due diligence are they doing inside of Downing Street in the cabinet? You know, because normally speaking, if you're in a big organisation and you're part of, say, the executive committee or something like that, you normally have to declare, I've decided to buy another house, or I've decided to take another job, or, you know, this lobbying company's offering me some money. And normally speaking, you'd have sort of some compliance officer to make sure they run the rule over it, make sure you're not screwing anything up, right?
You'd have thought so.
But obviously they don't do that either.
But it's not the first time. There's that thing where she sued the NHS for negligence.
Right.
About the way they treated her son. That's one thing. But then she's always praising the NHS.
Yeah.
And then she dipped into his £162,000 compensation to buy her own house, then sell it on. I mean, it's just none of it.
And also, we've learned today from the Telegraph that they massively overinflated the worth of the home. Yes. 650,000, and similar houses in the area were going for less than 400,000 a couple of years earlier.
It's just, I mean, it's a common. I mean, I hate to generalise, but I have never met someone who proclaims their left-wing credentials who isn't within, just don't even scratch the surface, obsessed with money.
Yeah,
it's not fair. You've got more than me. I want. And I think she's one of those people.
Yeah.
And sometimes they feel more entitled to it because they didn't have any as a child.
Yeah, absolutely. And she's gone from being
she's
gone from being a grandmother of 34 or 35 or whatever it was to sort of apparently some kind of multi-millionaire.
And we wonder how that happened. But it's just that it was so obvious that she's that sort of person.
Right.
And as I said before, if you're brought up with those people, you go, oh yeah. I mean, we had one round our she reminds me of a woman round our way called Slack Alice,
right?
Who's like the local benefits cheat,
right?
And every council estate, every sort of working class area is full of people like that.
Yeah.
And anyone from the working classes, I would contend, can just go, yeah, that's what she's like. Can't you see it here? What's the matter with you?
Yeah, she goes out with her slippers on at about 12 o'clock every day because it's the earliest she gets up.
And unfortunately, as Deputy Prime Minister, you have all sorts of, quite rightly, privileges and things like that, and you have to be held to a higher standard.
Yeah.
And if anyone can think of a reason, please, I'd love to be wrong. Tell me why she's good. Tell me what she's good at. Tell me what she's done.
Well, they say that she's a great communicator. I don't necessarily agree with that because...
I don't. I think she's one of the most inarticulate politicians since John Prescott.
Exactly. She placates the left wing of the party. Well, maybe, but she's obviously got far too big for her big bother boots, and she obviously thinks she's some kind of second coming of Jesus Christ. And that's unfortunately what politics does to people, isn't it?
It does, and
politics and rock and roll. You know, they all start to think they're God's gift, and they're walking around like nobody can touch me because I'm cool, I'm great, I can do anything.
Well, it's when you haven't put the work in. You know, when you haven't. I mean, there's a lot of working. Even Prescott did then take himself as a mature student to Ruskin College, and she's just come up through the unions, and anyone. The unions. That was just the very easy way of working class people. You know. Stuff you, what's in it for me?
Right, and don't actually do any work, just get yourself involved in the union administration and that'll be fine.
And the trade unions, I have to say, were a wonderful thing because they stopped people being exploited and kids being shoved up chimneys. But by the time we were all aware of them in the 70s and 80s, they were rotten.
Well, they ruined Britain.
Yeah.
There's no question about that. And it took a long time to recover from it, but they appear to be back. You know, we've got a tube strike coming next week in London. We're going to have another doctor's strike coming up soon. Nurses are going on strike shortly. You know, the whole public sector is kind of revolting against this Labour government because they know as soon as they ask for money, they'll get it.
Well, look, Keir Starmer's like the supply teacher, isn't he? You know, the one that isn't strict, and you could just muck him about.
Right.
Oh, sir, and just and that's what he is. But I think his only hope, and I'm serious, he'll never do it. Obviously, never do it. His only hope now is to form a coalition. We're in dire straits geopolitically and economically, and he just needs the best people. We don't care whether they're Tory, Labour, Reform. If you just
Yeah, but he does, because he hates everybody else.
I know, but there are good people dotted around in each party.
Yeah.
And almost like a war time, we need those people. Angela Rayner, Rachel Reeves, Ed Miliband simply aren't politically or intellectually up to the jobs that we've entrusted them
No,
with.
exactly. Exactly right. And I mean, you would never have thought you'd end up saying, if only we could have the Tories back, because they were awful, but they weren't this bad.
They were awful.
But they weren't this bad.
No, they weren't this bad. And my worry has always been, and you know, it's told you so, that we need a good, strong opposition. We need a good Labour Party. We always need a good Labour Party. We always need a good Tory Party. This lot are so bad, like the worst government in living memory, that my fear is Labour, just Labour generally, will never get into power again.
No, I think they're ruining it for everybody.
They ruin it for everyone.
They really are. It's horrendous. It's absolutely awful.
None more so than Raina.
No, quite. Paul, great to talk to you. Thank you very much indeed. Paul Burke, commentator at The Spectator there. He's not wrong, is he? These are the worst people to run a government in living memory. I don't know how old you are, but I can go back all the way to the 60s. And nobody was this bad. I mean, literally everywhere you look, it's a car crash. Jonathan Reynolds, you know, the fake solicitor. David Lammy, the Foreign Secretary. Yvette Cooper with her bunting, you know, and her flags at home that she waves around every time she gets up. It's just awful. You know, Rachel Reeves. Should we play it? Let's play it. Reeves talking about her good friend, Angela Rayner, yesterday.
Yes, I have full confidence in Angela Rayner. She's a good friend and a colleague. She has accepted the right stamp duty wasn't paid. That was an error. That was a mistake. She is working hard now to rectify that, in contact with HMRC to make sure that the correct tax is paid. Anyone that saw Angela's statement yesterday, saw her interview yesterday, I think will have a lot of sympathy with some of the challenging family circumstances around this, around Angela's disabled.
Some of the challenging family situations, yeah. Jim in Wales says, Starmer is so weak and simply cannot bring himself to say Rayner is complete Chancellor. Reeves is a bungling idiot robot. Rayner has been caught out. Look at how two-tier Keir tried to cling on to Louise Haigh, the convicted fraudster, Rushanara Ali, greedy landlord who broke the law, and Tulip Sadiq, knee-deep in a sleaze trial and the niece of one of the most corrupt leaders the world has ever known. Don't forget Dodds and the other no-mark lefty Foxcroft, who both went because they cried over benefits cuts. Starmer is praying tonight that Rayner doesn't have to go, because if she does, that's the end of him as well. Well, we can only hope, can't we? Bill in Cheshire, Rayner has called out so many people for corruption, abuse of position, etc. She can hardly be surprised at what people are saying. A wise old boss of mine used to say, be nice to people as you go up the career ladder, as you're bound to meet them when you're on the way down. Very true. Let's get a voice note from Kate.
Mike, Kate from Leeds. Raina, do I think she'll resign? No, I think she's that hard-faced. I think they all are. Do as I say, not as I do. And I don't think she's going anywhere. But I pray to God. Anyway, good show, Mike. Good show. Bye. Bye.
Kate, thanks very much indeed. I couldn't say I agree with you more. Mike in Colchester says, Mike, do we know who paid for the independent KC she appointed to look at Rayner's tax affairs? Did she pay for that herself, or will us taxpayers be picking up the tab? She has to go, and she can take Starmer and the rest of this incompetent government with her. Keep up the pressure. Absolutely right. Coming up, we're going back to Birmingham for the Reform Conference. Zia Yusuf is going to join us ahead of the big speech from Nigel Farage coming up later this afternoon. This is Talk.
Some breaking news this morning revealed that under the Terrorist Act, 242 people were arrested in the year to June of this year.
That's something you can indulge in as to all the people who aren't going to prison because, well, there's no prison spaces.
So this is a Talk exclusive we've been looking at.
I said, you take these cuffs off me and speak to me like a human being rather than a common criminal.
You're just left wondering, does these people who lead us actually hate Britain?
Yeah.
Do they not love our country and everything that we've stood for?
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back to Morning Glory, 9:51. Mike, I don't have any sympathy for Raina. The tears don't work. You called us scum, says 70-year-old Gran. Why is Rachel Reeves constantly staring at the floor in that clip where she's defending Angela Rayner? I don't know. Angela Rayner's actions are despicable, says John in Bexley Heath. Let's get a voice note from Pete.
No. If she has to resign, right, because of this, right, and she's been found guilty of something or other, isn't she, right? So her having the position of Deputy Prime Minister is untenable. She should resign, full stop, and resign from politics. You can't have a half guilty and a half resignation, so she still sits on the front bench. No, that can't be allowed. That cannot simply be allowed. No.
OK, Pete's not keen, apparently. I think what he means by that is that you can't just get her out as Deputy Prime Minister and Minister for Housing, Communities and Levelling Up. What you've got to do is also sack her as Deputy Leader of the Labour Party. The trouble is, if she doesn't resign from that job, Starmer can't sack her because she was elected to do it. Roger says, Mike, David Lammy is available as Deputy Prime Minister. On second thoughts, no. No seems to be the word. Tonight, coming up, Alex Phillips is here for the 10 o'clock show, but she's also on Plank of the Week. Have a look.
For them, it really is a case of go woke or go broke, because if they don't tick all of these boxes, they can't get any funding.
I feel so threatened. I need a safe space. What you have just said has triggered me as a woman of colour who also identifies as a man. You have made me feel very unsafe.
Oh, we thought we had an all-ladies panel today.
No, I'm sorry.
Not anymore.
Not anymore.
No, it's changed in midstream. Yeah, I'm afraid Alex Phillips decided to identify as a man, even though we wanted an all-woman panel for Plank of the Week tonight, only for the second time ever. Goes out 7 o'clock, of course. We'll be up in Birmingham talking to members of the Reform Party, myself and Jeremy Kyle, and talking to Samara Gill, whose show goes out between 7 and 10 while Kevin O'Sullivan is still away. Let's go to the phones. Anthony is in Surrey. Anthony, very good morning to you.
Oh, good morning, Mike. Yes, Angela Rayner, I think she's a good actress. You know, she does those pounder eyes well.
Yeah.
She did that Diana thing, didn't she? But I wonder what she's going to do when she gets her UB40 around midday today.
Yes, you think? Are you calling it midday, you think?
Around then, if she doesn't, she should have gone before. She should have stood down, you know, because it's getting worse and worse.
We were just saying she should have gone this morning and gone, look, you know what, I'm not going to wait for the judgment of the ethics advisor, I'm just going to go.
She's just got brass necks. She's just got the gall to stay there.
Yeah.
Like they all do. I don't know why they do that. And Starmer, I suppose he's got they say, innocent until proven guilty, coming from his profession. But perhaps she could get a pass in Coronation Street, pulling a few pints.
Yeah, that's probably about the level that she's at, actually. It's probably what she should do. Good call. Anthony, thank you very much. Anthony thinks midday. I started with that and went to 2 o'clock. I think 2 o'clock is about the right time. And once she's had a good lunch. Alex in Cheltenham, very good morning to you.
Hi, Mike, you well?
Yeah, good, sir. What can I do for you?
I guess I noticed how she said that she pays council tax at the house in Ashton.
Yes.
So she doesn't need to pay it on the Grace and Favour.
That's right, because she calls the house in Ashton, she calls that her main residence, even though she doesn't appear to spend any time there.
But it wouldn't surprise me if actually her son's trust pays a council tax in Ashton.
Yes, that may well be.
She doesn't pay council tax anywhere. Or now I suppose she'll pay it on the Hove place as her first home and will cover the council tax on her second Grace and Favour home.
Yeah. Well, the Grace and Favour home will disappear if she gets fired.
Yeah, that'd be good.
And then she's going to have a real problem, because then she's got a £600,000 mortgage and a reduced salary.
Well, she'd be putting the Lord straight away, wouldn't she? Or fairly soon.
I bet, yeah.
Got to keep it in control.
But what an absolute
she had actually paid council tax everywhere herself, you know?
I know, absolutely disgraceful.
Is she like living off the kid?
I know, it just doesn't make any sense. Alex, good to talk to you. Thanks very much. We've got to leave you because we've got to rush up to Birmingham just before we go. Zia Yusuf is here, head of Doge at Reform UK. Zia, very good morning to you.
Good morning, Mike.
Good to see you. Things are heating up there. How's everybody feeling? How's the mood?
Well, the energy is effervescent. The room is starting to fill up. This turquoise carpet is dazzling everybody. We got the merch store open where people can buy their Reform football shirts. Look, this is going to be an unbelievable event. It's going to be bigger and better even than last year. We had thousands of people here last year. We're going to have thousands more this year across the 2 days. People are hugely optimistic because when we had our last conference, we were at around 20-odd% in the polls. Today, depending on the poll, we're between 31 and 35%. This conference represents Reform focusing on the next step and preparing for government, Mike.
Yeah, and Nigel Farage has come around to my view, which is that this government won't last until 2029. He thinks 2027. I'm thinking the way things are going, we could be at general election stations next year.
Yeah, look, it's difficult to predict these things because a bit like businesses going bankrupt, it's sort of very gradually then all at once, right? And, you know, clearly the government is in even more chaos now with this Angela Rayner situation.
Yeah.
But look at the bond markets. The cost for borrowing on a 30-year basis for this government is higher than Greece. It is at the highest level now in decades. And we aren't yet seeing stress in the short-term credit markets, things like CDS, but that can happen. Anyone who saw the Greek sovereign debt crisis, that can happen very, very, very quickly. And the problem that Prime Minister now has is his government's in total disarray. He's miles behind us in the polls. It's increasingly obvious he does not have a mandate, and it's also obvious Rachel Reeves won't be Chancellor